And I've been still cooking up that Piedmontese. I ain't getting tired of it. Cooked up two burgers last night as I waited for my wife to cook up dinner. I know that sounds really fat, but I was on like 18 hours of fasting. So I cooked up some burgers, threw some cheese on them, grass-fed burgers. Piedmontese has a lot of great options. I've been digging the ribeye, the filet, and I'm hearing that the sliders are really good. I haven't gotten around to eating sliders yet, so I'm getting excited about that. But I had some of the hamburger patties last night, and they were awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a ribeye yesterday. Again, I think it was a ribeye cap. That's what it's called. It's like a ribeye cap steak. I love it, man.
They're just so good. I know Fat Little Smokey's been talking about the sliders a lot.
Yeah. And
now Mark just mentioned sliders. So I think this week I'm going to put in an order for a bunch of those sliders.
Sliding right into Piedmontese's DMs and asking them for some sliders.
Yeah, but I do need more, like, real talk. I need more ribeyes. Like, the ribeyes are
They're
out.
so good.
I'm done with the ribeye.
Like, we need some help over here.
Piedmontese, they're doing something different. Somehow they added extra protein to their meat, but took out not all the fat. They took out a lot of the fat. In comparison to what you would get at a regular like grocery store. It's laughable how much better it is. If you guys want to get in on that, it's PIEDMONTESE.com. That's Piedmontese.com. At checkout, enter promo code Power Project. That'll get you 25% off your entire order. And if it's $99 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Order today, you'll be grilling by Friday night.
And what about those Quest bars, Quest cookies, Quest chips, Quest pizza, all the yummy stuff from Quest?
Again, another thing that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, how it's so good, but how it's so healthy. I don't know. Don't want to ask questions, though.
Lots of fiber, too.
Well, the stuff tastes good that, like, we have to, like, control ourselves with it, you know? Like, if I'm going to have a Quest bar, what I normally do is I normally just take one home from here.
Yeah.
Because if I have a box around... I'm going to end up in the same position I'd end up in if I had a box of cookies. I'm going to end up eating them all. But they have a reasonable amount of calories, moderate amount of fat, very low carbohydrate because it's primarily fiber and it has a good amount of protein in it. So I've always loved Quest Nutrition's products. They have a lot of great products. They have the regular kind of old school Quest bar and they have tons of flavors. One of my favorite ones is the donut one. And then for those of you that have never tried a Hero bar, you gotta get rid of those zeros and get yourself a Hero. You know what I'm talking about? That shit's good.
Yeah,
really those things are really good. Those might be the best bars on the planet Earth.
Yeah.
People
at expos or following Mark with a camera around. Oftentimes, I have survived just off of Quest bars, and it sounds like I'm saying something bad, but it was actually kind of awesome. Those days I actually look forward to. If you guys want to get in on that, head over to questnutrition.com. At checkout, enter promo code MarksQuest for 20%. Yeah, 20% off all of these bars that we're talking about. The chips, the protein, the cookies, everything is delicious, and you can get that all for 20% off.
Yummy. And then we also got our boys over at Perfect Keto.
Yeah, buddy.
Appreciate their support. It's great to have MCT oil that doesn't blow your butthole out. They have MCT oil powder. For those of you that have tried MCT oil before and you're like, nuh-uh, I can't have that ever again. Yeah. The powder seems to have a much different reaction with a lot of people. So that's a great product. They have whey protein. They have collagen protein that tastes really good. They have keto bars. It's hard to find snacks on a ketogenic diet. It's hard to find not even a snack, but really just anything that's sweet, anything that's just different. That's not, most of the food you're going to eat is like savory. It's like eggs and meat, and those things are great. And those things hit certain parts of your palate that get you excited, get you fired up. But, with Perfect Keto, they have some options to get rid of that sweet tooth.
Yeah, like that cinnamon bar.
Cinnamon roll.
Cinnamon roll. Yeah, just the texture and the consistency of those is really good. And I do now see what you're talking about in terms of the cookie dough one. Yeah. It's cookie dough, right?
Yeah, the chocolate chip
I see what you're talking about.
They made a comeback.
Yeah, it's like I can't explain it. It doesn't have the same consistency as the cinnamon roll, but it's because of that. There's something to it.
It's got the big old chunks of chocolate chips. When you bite into it, just like that crunchiness to it. And there's bites where I'm like, okay, I got nothing but chocolate. There's no way this is okay to eat.
Yeah.
It's freaking delicious. Yeah.
And it's got like 11 grams of collagen in it.
Have you guys had the collagen protein mix with like yogurt?
No, I didn't
Oh
do
my
that.
gosh.
Yeah, the salted caramel.
Yes.
I mixed that in some just regular plain yogurt, and it was amazing.
It'll light your face
Really
on
good.
fire.
Hey, try that out.
Yeah, it's amazing. You guys, if you guys want to give it a go, head over to perfectketo.com/power project. At checkout, enter promo code power project, and that'll get you 15% off everything we just talked about and whatever else they got on the website. It's kind of amazing.
Oh, you
Yeah,
could
it's a
raise
good
that
tip, though.
mic. It feels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got it.
My man.
So there's
Oh,
the
yeah.
right here.
Yep,
Yeah.
Why is Kenny
Ooh,
KO
how
so
does that
tall?
sound?
that sounds good.
Oh, that's
Is
Sorry
Kenny
about
KO tall because of IGF-1 or growth hormone?
I don't know
That's a-
that science of it all.
Oh.
Or then just crank it.
SARMs?
It's a new protocol.
And then
Is he
crank
on
it down
SARMs?
hard. Just
I
gotta,
got you.
Yep. You gotta
We're getting there.
crank
Oh, yeah.
that bitch
Oh,
down
we're
hard.
cranking.
Oh yeah, crank it.
Oh, yeah.
Turning me on.
Might be a lot of Soldier Boy here with all the crankets.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That was
Yeah,
the
remember?
thing.
Crank that Soldier Boy.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
He's gone off the deep end.
Has he?
A little bit.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He was he was selling like
The soldier-
super pirated.
Didn't that happen to DMX too? He went off the deep end too,
I mean,
right?
he came back,
He
I
really
think.
went off the deep end.
But
no,
DMX came back.
Soldier Boy, he was selling like these bootleg video game systems, saying that he got like approval from Nintendo and like Sega, and they're like, dude, there's no way.
It just ended up being an emulator.
It was an emulator, and
Yeah.
he got sued pretty bad. So that was pretty good on him, though.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Anywho's Kenny KO. We're here with Kenny KO today, and super pumped to get down to business with you here and trying to figure out a bunch of different stuff about this wild thing we call the fitness industry. But question number one, right out of the gate, Kenny KO, answer this as cleanly as you can. Are you or are you not a dick?
This is exactly what I wanted, like between two ferns type style. That's the type of content I'm trying to. That's what I was going for. I don't know if they told you that's what I wanted to film with you. Like, I
Nice.
just wanted to be like the blunt, like dick, like
Yeah,
where it's
yeah.
just the awkward question and people get caught off guard and then
Yeah.
see their response. Am I a dick? I don't think so in person, but online I'm probably definitely portrayed as being a dick for sure.
Is that does that keep you up at night ever? Like, have you said certain things? Because it seems like the content that you create is going against something that someone's saying, so it's viewed as negative, right?
Right.
And so there's maybe a swirl of negative energy surrounding it. Does that, we're in this world today where everyone's talking about being positive and positivity, and you have to have all these positive thoughts. Is some of this controversy, does that sometimes give you anxiety or make it hard to sleep, or how do you feel day to day?
I mean, there's only been probably a couple situations off the top of my head that have, affected my sleep. One was when I called out Larry Wheels before having 100% concrete evidence of anything. So if I make a claim or a video off of just reflex and emotions and don't do the due diligence of the full on research before I publish the video, then it's it might sit uneasy with me. Other than that though, I mean,
You're not really trying to hurt anybody.
no, and it's it's definitely viewed from both perspectives, because obviously you're going to have the fan base of whoever I'm calling out trying to defend their idol and who they look up to, regardless if that person did the worst thing imaginable. Then you have my audience who just wants the truth and everything, is just kind of looking at it objectively. So it's you're going to have the controversy because there's going to be both parties kind of going against one another.
You think maybe moving forward, you'll kind of stick to natty or not, rather than maybe I guess interrogating someone's life on a more personal level?
I feel like the natty or not's kind of dying out now, where people are starting to catch on. It's becoming a trend, and everyone's like, I'm just going to be open about it because it's so much more accepted, I feel like, than it was, say, a few years ago. Because now you even have YouTubers that are making a channel or a name off them or on themselves, basically just saying and opening up to their audience, and they earn the respect of it, of just saying, hey, this is what I'm taking, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm making the progress I am. So it's the dynamic has just really changed behind the view of it all, whereas I feel maybe 5-10 years ago you would never hear anyone talk about anything just because it was so I guess ridiculed more than it is now.
So from your point of view, what you're trying to do is anytime anyone says something where you're like, I think that's bullshit, then you're just going to look into it deeper.
Yeah, and it's not I immediately know. There's something that might go off in my brain that I'm like, whoa, this looks a little bit suspicious, and I need to, as you mentioned, dive in a little bit deeper. And then if I start to find more evidence and more stuff and more people coming forward with, proof of certain things and allegations, then it's I can kind of build more of a story and get at least as close as possible to what the actual truth behind it is.
So like, how'd this start? Because like, you remind me, or your channel reminds me of like Keemstar, you
Right.
know, who like
That's what a lot of people say.
Exactly. It's like the drama alert type
Fitness.
deal.
Yeah.
So like, how did that start for you? Why did you want to pursue that route of creating that content? Was your content always like that, or were you making fitness content at the beginning? What was the start of it for you?
I mean, personally, I've always been someone who's enjoyed like drama alert type content.
Yeah.
And I think there's always going to be that audience out there, you know, where they want to see the drama, they want to see stuff that keeps them on the edge of their seat, you know, rivalries between two people, whether it's me and someone else or maybe you and someone else. So I was always a big fan of that, and I think it just kind of transpired into what I created my channel to be. Is it's something I already like to watch, so why not just talk about it and give my opinion on those types of subjects? And obviously I made it more niche with going more in the fitness industry rather than just YouTube as a whole. But the fitness industry being as small as it is, it's like there's so few big names that it's just really well known at that point.
Okay.
I've seen some of the videos, you know, where you've talked about, you mentioned Larry Wheels, and I think that you actually took down the video.
Yeah.
I guess you had some allegations that you felt weren't clear enough, right? Is that kind of what happened? Like, what happened with Larry Wheels?
Yeah, so basically I took the video down just out of respect for him. It was kind of shortly after the whole Jeremy Buendia situation, and Larry Wheels' ex-girlfriend came out with a video on YouTube basically saying, you know, that he abused her, all these different things. And before Larry gave his response, I looked at only one side of the story versus letting Larry, you know, waiting and having him publish his video, and then kind of looking at objectively, like, okay, who's more right? What sounds more believable? I just kind of went off of emotion of what she said, because the tapes did sound pretty bad from, you know, at least my opinion. And like I said, I have emotion, just filmed the video, published
There's a tape released where they were like arguing or something, right?
Yeah, and it was like him yelling at her, and then the tape, she just like keeps claiming, I think, like, stop hitting me and all this different stuff. So it like sounded really nasty for sure, but I still didn't have any proof. There wasn't any police reports. I didn't get to hear Larry Wheels' side of the story, because there's the two sides to every story for every situation. So regardless of how bad something sounds, it could be totally misinterpreted.
We've heard recently that there's three sides.
Mm-hmm.
There's your story, there's my story, and there's the truth.
Right. So, and then, yeah, just out of respect for him, after he made his response, I was like, you know what? I didn't do the due diligence of doing the full-on research before publishing this video. So regardless if it's pulling in a mad amount of views, making me a good amount of money, I was like, out of respect for him, I need to take this video down.
That situation's tough in and of its own, because like anybody can say what they want to say, and if there's like really no proof of, like, if there's no concrete evidence, like, you don't know what side to take.
Right.
You know, you just know what word you want to take.
Right.
You know?
And some people are really good at masking too, like the fake. There's a lot of fakes out there that are just so good at masking it and make it so believable that it's hard to really catch them unless you have that concrete proof. Because it's almost as though they could pass a lie detector test and be telling a total lie, because they're just so good at having a good poker face and saying things the right way that you would totally 100% believe it. So it's just really messed up that obviously there's a lot of these types of situations, not just in fitness. Of course, you know, if you watch Drama Alert, you see it all the time with all the Ace Family stuff going on recently as well. But I mean, it has enough to at least give me a full-time job. So.
Are you natural?
I am at the moment, yeah. So
You've taken stuff before?
Oh yeah. So you know what's actually funny though? Last time I was here, I was so high from. So,
that's actually what I had to tell like media. They're like, man, he's really quiet in person. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, he was blasted out of his mind.
Holy shit.
Like,
so yeah, me and Tony popped some edibles the night before. I never take any edibles, and I think like normal is what, like maybe 5 to 10 milligrams or something like that. I took like 50 and I just got thrashed. So I show up the next day when you guys are all training here, and everyone's like wanting to come up and say hi to me, and I'm just a zombie.
Your
and,
eyes were a bit bloodshot.
Total opposite of like how I normally am on video. So everyone's like, yo, is he like a dick, or is it something wrong with him? And I was just still so high trying to like come down after like 24 hours. I was like, holy shit, like this is awful.
I heard
But-
Joe Rogan talk about that before. I've never tried that before, but Joe Rogan's talking about like the little gummy bears,
Yeah.
and he's like,
They're deceptive.
he's like, I guess I was supposed to just nibble on like the foot of the bear. He's like, but I ate the whole head, and the guy's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't know, like why'd they make them this fucking potent?
Yeah, no, they're deceptive because they taste exactly like the candy sometimes, and then you have no idea. And then
These are good.
like 30 minutes later, you're just on a whole nother level. So, but yeah, jumping back to, I guess, like the natty or not, I was running some SARMs, doing my contest prep because I did 2 shows this year. And then I decided a couple weeks ago, I just want to go natural kind of, and not only just natural from like SARMs and anabolics and everything like that, but also like caffeine, just total like body cleanse, detox, resensitized to everything. And then kind of give my body just some time off to relax.
This is some hard shit to figure out right here. What's natural to you?
That's the fucking question.
You know, when
days.
somebody's like on the
Because-
fence, like I mean, if someone takes like
Because everyone has a different opinion. I
yeah,
mean, even
right.
probably just us 3 could probably have a different opinion on what we think is natural. So it's like, I think once you've taken something, you're not a lifetime natural, but there might be periods where, say, you go natural. But if someone's to ask you, are you natural? I think you kind of need to be like, I haven't been my entire life, but I am
Yeah.
at the moment. you
when I
know?
was a kid, and
Because I've had
I can
people that do that.
when I was a kid, I competed in the ADFPA, which is now the USAPL. So I competed in that shit before it was what it is now. But the ADFPA, they had a lifetime drug-free category, and I was always like, "What's like, you know, what's the?" As a kid, I didn't know what that. I was like, didn't know what that meant. I'm like, "What's that mean?" And then one of the older guys was like, "Well," he's like, "It just means you haven't really taken anything in like a really long time." And I didn't even know what he meant. I was like,
long
"What do you mean?"
time?
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean haven't taken anything in a really long time? And I guess they were saying like, if you've been off of shit for like about 5 years, you can just claim your lifetime natural. I'm like, why is there even a category for that? Why isn't it just, why don't they just test people?
You're a born again natty.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
That doesn't make much sense because like even if you take stuff that like if you're off for 5 years or whatever, you will keep some of that muscle that you've managed
right,
to put on.
right.
It doesn't just all disintegrate.
Yeah, that's the plan. To
Right.
maintain it.
Exactly.
Right.
So
It's
interesting.
Yeah,
it's
no.
it's a weird thing, but you wouldn't be able to test for, you know, if it was out of someone's
be,
system, you wouldn't be able to really tell.
I mean, you'd be surprised too. I've interviewed people on my channel where I'll do like a natty or not series and say, hey, are you natural? And they'll be like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so you've never taken like SARMs, pro hormones? And they're like, oh no, I take SARMs. And I'm like, what? Like, okay, you're not natural. And they're like, why is that considered you're not natural? It has to be like steroids. I'm like, oh
I was
my
just-
God. It's
I was
like
just telling
everyone's
these guys-
perception of it's so different.
I was just telling these guys when I was in pro wrestling, if you weren't on 3 things at once and you were clean, guys would be like, man, I've been off forever. And you're like, dude, you really? You look great. And like, well, I'm still on some tests, you know?
Yeah.
They just weren't on a full cycle of stuff.
As long as you're not on the triple threat. Yeah.
There you go.
You know, I've
Totally
seen
fine.
also too on your channel, I've seen you talking about some females and stuff too. So then it kind of raises the question. It's like, well, what's the difference between fake tits and steroids? You know, like what, like that's fake and that's getting a certain goal and objective across with your physique and with your body, and so are steroids. So it's like, you know, where do we draw the line on some of this? You know, the female competitors that are competing in a lot of these figure and fitness competitions, they're not winning unless they have fake boobs, right?
Right. What's funny is we actually had a talk about that recently. But I think just the big difference is if they lie about it. But I think it'd be kind of hard if you had like a super fake boob job and you're like, nah,
Yeah, you
like
can-
they're real.
Yeah, right.
But like I honestly have nothing against anyone who uses it. I mean, because obviously like I take stuff. Like that'd be hypocritical if I was like I can take stuff, but no, you can't. That's messed up.
You just
But-
don't want to see people
Yeah,
swerving
I'm
people.
totally fine. People can do whatever they want with their body, you know, whatever it may be. But if you lie about it is the thing that like bothers me, because obviously, especially if you have a super large following and people who look up to you and strive to have your physique and want to be everything like you, and you're giving them this false hope of what you did to get there, then it just really sets them up for failure down the road. So it's just the matter of lying about it. If they're open about it, you will probably never see them on my channel unless it's something good or like a collaboration, because I have nothing to call them out about.
How can you tell? Like let's use someone that we're friends with. Let's use someone like Mike O'Hearn, right? It's just so like
He actually followed me on Instagram. I was pretty hype about it.
yeah. Well, we love Mike O'Hearn, and I don't care if he does them or doesn't. I don't really care what his thing is, but you know, he's told us all that he's been natural for a really long time, and I would love to believe that you can be that big and that strong and that lean naturally. But like, what's something that you see where you're like, you know, I don't really buy it, because most people that are natural fall into this other category.
It's usually if they're like contest conditioned, shredded year round, while also making like progress. So I mean,
So Mike doesn't do that, right? He's not contest shredded year round.
At least from what I see, unless he like recycles photos.
No, well, he does that quite a bit, but like Mike is probably like as lean as he gets, probably about once a year, maybe twice.
So he
a year.
does like preps then.
But like if you were just to go visit him like randomly, like one time he would be fucking big and swole, and another time he would just be like all diced up. When we saw him, he was a little bit in between.
He was in the middle, like
he was starting to come back down, but he's kind of the master of that. And every time I train with him, I'm like, man, why don't I just work on getting bigger? Like I'm a lot of time, because I came down from 330 pounds, I've been working on, getting leaner and just basically getting smaller. And then every once in a while when I train with him, I'm like, fuck, why don't I just kind of do what he does? But like he goes up and down quite a bit.
Yeah, see, I think he's forever going to be the controversial athlete of Natty or not.
Right.
Just because he's been around for so long, done so much, and has claimed it for so long, along with obviously having the strength and the physique that most guys, I think, would probably want to strive for.
So let's get a few other things down. So you said if they're super lean all the time, year round, that might be a sign that they're using, right? And there are some guys that are just naturally leaner than others, but I agree with that statement. I think that's fair, that there might be some smoke surrounding that one. And then what else we got?
Normally I'll look for like certain types of side effects. So if they have I don't really necessarily look at gyno, because personally I had gyno since I was early teens before I'd ever touched anything. So, but if they develop gyno out of nowhere, say they're, in their 30s or late 20s, and out of nowhere they just pop up gyno, that's like a huge red flag to me. Or like a random breakout of acne, male pattern baldness to a certain extent, but that's also genetic based.
Almost like kind of what I've noticed is almost like blotchy skin. It's kind of hard to describe, but there's like a white, like for the guys that are Caucasian, it's like a whitish, reddish, speckled tone to it almost. Right.
So, and then along with that, like I said, just like the contest condition year round. And obviously it depends what you're doing. You could have power lifters who I'm sure are taking stuff that would look nowhere near stepping on a bodybuilding stage, but they're going to be taking stuff for, to contribute to what they're trying to do and accomplish. So Michael Hearn is just forever, I think, going to be the golden one to look at. Oh, I saw Todd on there too with Icon. But I actually like Michael Hearn. And also there's a big misconception that people think I hate these people I call out.
I don't think you have any choice but to like Michael Hearn if you ever met him in person and ever hung out with him or ever trained with him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone that's ever trained with him.
Oh, I don't doubt his training at all.
People might think whatever they want about him, but if you ever worked out with him, you realize how much he loves to lift. He loves the nutrition side of all this. And he does make you wonder, because you're like, well, I just kind of wonder if I was that dedicated, because he's so on point with it all the time. He never misses a meal. He's always getting his sleep. And you're just like, man, makes you kind of like, scratch your head. And then when he gets in shape like that, when he's lean like that, you're like, oh, I don't know if that's possible.
Right.
On the note of possible though, guys, like, I think we talked about this before. Why is it that within, I guess, fitness, right? We have some people that are just like genetically gifted for it. Even if they've been lifting for 5 years, they manage to put on more muscle than a guy who's been lifting for 10. But, there are tribes in Sudan, like the Dinka people of Sudan. They average around 6'4" in terms of the male height. You got guys like Zion Williamson, who's 19 years old, 6'5", 270 pounds in the NBA. Young kid. He had a growth spurt and he can like jump out of the gym. Imagine if Zion stopped playing basketball, got into a gym 5 days a week, and just was like, I want to become fucking big. That kid would be 300 and something pounds with like, and probably still jump out of a gym.
Maybe a pro strongman athlete.
He could be any kind of fucking athlete he wanted to be.
Yeah.
So my thing is, why are we so, when we look at the fitness industry and we see individuals that have amazing physiques, if they're, over here saying, oh, this supplement helped me get hella big, okay, you're a douchebag, because we know that's not true. But why are we so skeptical about genetic variance here, but in literally every other sport or professional sport, oh, LeBron James, he's that big, he's tall.
We celebrate it, actually, and you get paid more money for it.
Right.
Exactly. So I'm just like, what is all, like, why?
Right. I see that pretty prevalent in the UFC too lately, is until Nate Diaz called out and kind of opened the door about everyone taking steroids. He made like that bold claim that everyone's doing it.
Now, see, like someone like Nate Diaz, though, like I agree with Nate Diaz, and that's cool that he's saying that. But like, look at Nate Diaz; he doesn't look like anything. So maybe Nate Diaz is just a hater. Maybe he's like, well, look at this guy. Of course, he's on shit because he's way more jacked than me. And it's like, well, of course, a lot of people are more jacked than me.
Yeah, right. So it's just really tough, and I think it's definitely more of a big thing, I'd say, in the bodybuilding industry, and it's not really looked at in like, you know, the other sports aspects, unfortunately. But maybe as, you know, more time comes on, it'll start to bring more light to it.
Even with my brother's movie, you know, Bigger, Stronger, Faster, just kind of the way everything unfolded from that, and you know, the kind of like Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa era. I mean, Sammy Sosa was still trying to he was still trying to claim he was natural, and you're just like, dude, just give it up. Everyone else pretty much came forward. Bonds just never said anything, which you can kind of, I think, read between the lines on that. The weird thing about Barry Bonds is he was never let go by the Giants. He never officially retired. He's the greatest baseball player perhaps of all time, and he just kind of stopped playing. And then if you go to a San Francisco Giants game, which I've been to one in the last like 2 years, when he's there and they announce him, the fans go fucking wild for him. The fans go crazy for him.
Yeah, they built the stadium because he was left-handed. So they're like, oh, he's going to be hitting home runs into the water every fucking night. So we're going to do it this way. It's like if he was right-handed, they would have flipped that thing around. Like that's how that's how big of an impact he had on, well, not only his franchise, but like, yeah, if you look to this day, like any franchise will still label him as probably the best player to ever play.
Professional sports are interesting because they have their own testing for it. You know, the fitness industry doesn't really have one. If you want to compete as a power lifter in the USAPL/IPF, then you can be drug tested. But it's kind of random drug testing. And then as far as I know, like in bodybuilding and other things, they won't really test. There probably are federations where you can get maybe like
depends on the federation.
Do they do urine too? Or
so like federations like the WNBF will do on their pros, they'll do random drug tests. On amateurs, they'll drug test, I think, usually the top two. So they'll take them to the back and do a urinalysis and polygraph. But not all organizations are as stringent as them. Like I know the INBA, they're not as stringent. You know what I mean? But the WNBF is very stringent on the athletes that they do. So yeah, some do, not all though.
So you can kind of pick and choose like where you want to go. And in powerlifting, I think, and strength sports in general, powerlifting, well, not Olympic lifting. They're all full of shit pretty much. Powerlifting and strongman, it's like no one really cares. You know, no, like it doesn't seem like the athletes care. It doesn't seem like the fans care. The fans are like, this is sick. This guy weighs 400 pounds and he's going to like pick up 500-pound log over his head. Like, I want to see that. Or at the Arnold, like what's the biggest draw at the Arnold is when those guys go and they try to rip up 1,100 pounds in that elephant bar deadlift thing. Yeah. And the guys are bleeding and it's like fucking intense as hell. People go crazy for that.
Yeah, once the blood starts coming out the nose, people don't say, "Oh no, this is not a good thing." No,
they start cheering.
Fuck yeah, like let's go! Like they get everybody hyped up.
They should stop the contest, check that guy for steroids, make sure everyone's safe. And I'd rather see them lift 700 safely and naturally. Like, yeah, you're right. There's no one saying that. Let's put on some calmer music. Like that music's like too over the top. It's too loud. It's too intense. Let's bring down the intensity. Is everybody okay with that? We're going to lift 600 pounds now and come out all calm and peaceful, right?
Yeah. At the last Arnold, I can't remember who the competitor was, but like he was literally dying right behind me because like I'm taking pictures and I look back and they have oxygen on them. And dude, it was like scary. Like those.
Wait, this was an athlete or a viewer?
No, an athlete.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he had just competed. It was the one where like they're pushing a thing in circles. Like everybody did really bad at it. And then he's like, people were really like scared.
He had a cardiac event.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but then
luckily he was okay.
He was, but he was down there for a minute, and then you look over, and you know another competitor's going, and was like, "Yeah, let's go!" Like, dude, this guy's gonna die. Like,
this is what I came here for.
You're right. Yeah, yeah. So you're right. Yeah,
well,
we want to see some freak athletes.
And I guess even there's like kind of the fat burner side of things, right? Because there's a lot of not just female, but there's a lot of competitors in physique
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and they might say I'm natural, but then maybe they're taking some thyroid medication, and maybe they're taking some clenbuterol, and even like ephedrine isn't legal anymore and stuff like that. So maybe they're doing some stuff on the side that's helping them get the physique, and then they're on their Instagram and they're saying, oh, I did this in 6 weeks.
Right.
And they're not, what do you think about like just not sharing the information? Do you think that
I think
like,
that's better than lying about it.
yeah,
Like if you say I did this 100% natural, I think that's worse than just not talking about what you did to get where you are. Like I once again have nothing wrong with anyone who uses. I also have nothing against anyone who just doesn't talk about it or decides not to, because I totally understand. Like obviously you don't want people maybe to replicate exactly what you're doing and irresponsibly do something, especially because majority of followings are going to be a lot younger, and especially on the social media world, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everyone's going to be a lot younger, and they're going to want those results that you got.
I like that a lot. Like what you're saying, because if someone was like, I got that big with insulin.
Yeah, everyone's just going to go to the local drugstore,
Yeah.
get insulin, start pumping insulin, and then, go diet, just hypoglycemic. Yeah, totally mess themselves up.
And I agree too there, because like someone say like, Steve Jobs is passed, but like somebody like Steve Jobs, he got the technology of the original not iPhone, iPod. He got that from another company, and it's like, is he going to share the fact that he like, stepped on that, that
Right.
company's throat to kind of like, pivot off of or whatever the situation was back then, right? And a lot of people aren't going to share the kind of like that, maybe there's a chunk of the story that they're not so proud of, that they don't want to share with everybody. And probably the best thing is to maybe just not say anything at all and just kind of proceed and talk about something else,
Because even Callum Von Moger, I don't know if you saw that, he made like a steroid video on YouTube, I think about last week, and he kind of opened up talking about how he's taking steroids, but he didn't say exactly what he takes. So I respected him for that, because at least he, opened up and told people like, hey, I'm not natural, just so you know that. But then also didn't give people exactly the dosage he took of what he took, because you already know like people 100% would try and replicate that and then mess themselves up not knowing the repercussions.
Yeah. Kenny, was there like any one thing that kind of was the tipping point where you're like, you know what, screw this, I'm going to put out a video on this person or that person or whatever it was, like where you felt like maybe you're the superhero we didn't ask for, but we needed, for, as far as YouTube, fitness goes?
I know my biggest video and what kind of got me in this genre was Brad Castleberry and the fake weights.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what your take is on that too. I kind of want to hear your opinion on Brad Castleberry. But that was kind of like the most viewed. And obviously when you make a video on YouTube and it gets a lot of views, that's what people want to watch and are looking for. So I saw that, maybe this was a bigger problem than what I had anticipated, just making that one video, and then started to progress off that and realized how much more other fake things there are in the industry, and then just continued to build off that. And obviously it had a big enough audience to build to where it's at now.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Castleberry is a fucking savage. That kid is like built. He's insane. What is he, like 240, 250?
Built like a tank.
He's
5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen him in person.
I have.
Yeah, he's about maybe a little bit shorter than you.
Yeah.
I'd say a couple inches.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just a tank.
And
very
then like
stocky
there's
dude.
certain things that he does that just aren't fake. Like when he jumps on a box.
Right.
It's like I don't know how you'd fake that without like special effects. And I want to say I've seen him jump on a box that's like maybe 65 or something inches high, some shit
Right.
like that, like some astronomical like height. He's shredded. He's got like, he's got the Christmas tree going on, like, year round. He's always in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
He throws around some big dumbbells. I think, so I've been shared a platform with Brad Castleberry years ago at the Los Angeles Fit Expo. It was in like a parking garage before the LA Fit Expo was the LA Fit Expo, and Scott Mendelson was running the meet, and Scott Mendelson's not very smart, so so the meet was like run in some weird like just area of this LA Fit Expo. Sorry, Scott, I'm messing with you, buddy. And Brad Castleberry competed in this powerlifting meet. So we're in the warm-up room, and I want to say on a squat that he tried about I can't remember, so I could be off with the weights that I'm talking about. But I want to say he tried like a 635 squat in the warm up room, and he got crushed by it. Now he was raw, and he at the time, especially too, he wasn't nearly as heavy as he is now. So huge squat regardless, you know, and he was attempting it, but like he just didn't know what he was doing because he never competed in powerlifting before. And I said, hey, what, you know, I noticed him and just was like, wow, this kid's shredded. He looks super young. I'm like, I'm going to go talk to him and kind of see, you know, you shouldn't miss weights in the warm-up room, you know? And so I was like, what's your opener? He's like, well, I think it's like a little under 600 pounds. I was like, well, you're plenty warm. Like, you know, go out there and, you know, see what you can do with your opening attempt. And from what I recall, he like missed a lift or two and just wasn't having the day that he thought he would. But I think he ended up making a squat. He squatted around 600 pounds, I think, and then proceeded, I think, to bench 400 and pull 600 or something like that. So he's a strong guy, and he actually, you know, has competed in powerlifting before. He's in amazing shape. The weights that he posts though are always in question. You know, it's like, I don't know, if you're going to bench, you know, 675, I think he's kind of claimed to bench around 675, then I don't really understand why you wouldn't do it. Why you wouldn't show that, why you wouldn't do it in a competition. It's understandable. Maybe he doesn't want to compete in a competition, but like there's no clean video of him like clearly doing it. And maybe he just feels like, who do I need to prove myself? I mean, he looks awesome and stuff like that. So maybe from his standpoint, maybe he's like, well, I don't need to prove myself to anybody. I feel strong enough. And then there's been a lot of allegations on whether he's using fake plates or not. And that gets to be a little bit weird, because you're like, I don't understand why you would do that and not point it out, you know, or not, you know, not have fun with it or something, you know.
Have you ever talked to him in person, like for a long duration?
No,
of time?
just a couple of minutes at a time.
Yeah. He's an interesting. I love Brad though, to be honest. Like as much shit as I give him, I want to, as I mentioned, like Between Two Ferns. I think that's like my goal video, is I want to get Brad on like a one-on-one interview and do it like Between Two Ferns
and just have it be awkward as hell.
Oh yeah, no, just because I don't know what he does before expos. I don't know if that's just how he is, like his character all the time, or if he like takes recreational stuff before the expos to get to his level he's at. But whatever he's on, I want it, because he is like 100 times my level when I am at an expo. Like fired up 24/7. You can see him like downtown Vegas, just shirtless, like flexing on people, doing the Brad Castleberry type stuff. So, but he's if I had to, I guess, claim someone to be the most interesting in the fitness industry, it'd actually probably be Brad Castleberry.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him enough to know that side of him. We have fake weights here, but like we've never.
What? No, you don't.
Yeah, we have fake weights here. We have like
supposed to say anything.
We have four 45-pound plates here that are fake, and we use them occasionally for like a photo shoot, or use them like for something specific. But it's not ever. We're not like, oh, like I did this today. You know, we don't post like a picture of you know, the fake weights. We used it in like a rap video that we did a long while ago, and I still benched like 515. We just put a couple extra on there to make it look insane, you know, make it look more intense. And so like we use it for that kind of stuff. And I've seen like at Gold's Gym, they have fake weights, and they have somebody, you know, they're showing the execution of a squat, and it's like it looks better if they got a little bit of weight on there. So a lot of times the guys will have a plate or two plates, or sometimes even more. Someone like Mike O'Hearn, he's going to just use real plates because he's one of the strongest people I've ever met. And some of the other guys are into that too. Like my buddy John Cena, like he's going to just use real plates and just, you know, he'll sit there at the bottom of a squat with 4 plates on his back for photos for Muscle and Fitness and stuff. What do you think of someone like John Cena? Like John Cena has, I don't know his business, even though I have been friends with him for, you know, 25 years or so. I don't know what he does and doesn't do. But I've known him for a long time, and he's one of those people that it's pretty clear that he's made it something different than the rest of us. What do you think of like his physique and what he's been able to do? Do you think does that look natural to you, or what are your thoughts on that?
It's hard to say with WWE, because that's what he's in still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just a big thing in that industry, especially because it's so much on your looks and like presentation, that obviously you want to have the most crazy looking physique possible.
Right.
You know, to draw in a bigger crowd and bigger audience.
Yeah, so, especially like years ago.
I mean, my
like
guess off like just a hunch would say probably not natural, especially at that level. But then again, like I can't say for certain. Like I have
Right.
no concrete evidence of anything. You know, there's a chance he could be natural, but my guess, knowing especially the higher end sports world, most likely on something of some type.
Is there a possibility to, you know, be 250, 260 pounds and be really lean without anything?
What height are we talking? We're talking like
About
a
6
5 foot or
Yeah,
like a
6 foot,
6'4"?
6 foot, anywhere between 5'8" and 6 foot or so. I don't know.
I think so, because I mean, as you touched on, there is definitely like genetic outliers that are just far different than the vast majority of the population, and that's without a doubt. For instance, like Craig Goliath. I don't know if you've met him yet or not. He's really good friends with Tony, but in Vegas, he is a massive guy. He's about, if I had to guess, maybe 5'9", somewhere in that range, but he's around 340 to 360.
Ooh.
And he has a 6-pack, totally diced. Dude's massive. Could step
Wow.
on the Olympia stage if he like really wanted. But I mean, yeah, you could bring up a picture. He's great at he's great at out angling people.
Yeah,
by
it's
the
the
way.
elbow.
Yeah.
The
But
elbow
for
guy.
instance, he's not natural, but he takes far less than you would think. You know, I think a lot of average individuals would be like, oh, this guy's on like a gram of tren, gram of test a week.
So obviously, from a
But
natural standpoint,
he actually probably
yeah.
takes less than a lot of amateurs competing in bodybuilding shows, because
seen
his
a
genetics
picture.
are just so insane
Yeah.
that he
Yeah.
just puts a little bit of anabolics into his system and he responds so phenomenally.
There was a picture of him on his Instagram or something where he said, "Oh, this was back when I was natural." He was big then,
Right.
Like, he was massive.
Yeah, he was big. Yeah, when he was natural, and like I said, there's definitely the genetic outliers that a lot of people don't factor in, and you'd be shocked to find out, because I think there's this big misconception that everyone thinks, oh, they're running tons of HGH, they're running a ton of tren, ton of test, but realistically, they're probably running a lot less than, like I said, amateurs in your local like NPC bodybuilding shows.
It seems like you have pretty good genetics. How long have you messed
I don't think
around
I have
with
good
stuff?
bodybuilding genetics. I have good sports genetics. I've always been like a sports player.
Yeah, you're a big guy though. You got a big frame.
Yeah. But what was the question? Sorry.
Like how long have you been? Like, did you start using performance enhancing drugs like 10 years ago or 5 years ago? Or
So initially I did like a Winstraw only cycle, I believe, for sports though. It wasn't anything bodybuilding related. I hadn't even like been in bodybuilding at all. It was more for sports performance and football.
Was
And
this
then I
in
was trying to
college
make
or something?
yeah, I was going semi-pro, and then from there I wanted to try and transition into NFL. So I was doing a Winstraw only cycle, and that was my first time anabolics. After that, obviously, I decided not to pursue football, went with firefighting instead. Decided to start that career for a couple years. Didn't touch anything in that time period. There was really no point. At least you want to be the really good looking, like shirtless firefighter, I guess, or something for the calendar.
you probably weighed a similar amount to like what you weigh now.
Oh no, I weighed way less. I was probably 190, 200 at the time,
What are
somewhere
you
in
now?
that range. What's that?
What are you now?
About like 255, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
So I mean, they definitely work for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because I put on like a ton of weight as soon as I started like actually getting into bodybuilding, getting my nutrition down, the training, and then of course implementing anabolics into that. Once you have like that trifecta going, it's pretty crazy what you can do. But after that, then it was SARMs for probably on and off for like a year, just kind of experimenting. This was a couple years ago when Tony and them kind of first came onto the market, and SARMs were just then kind of starting to be talked about, not as prevalent as they are now. And then after that, I decided to kind of like dabble in like testosterone, a couple other compounds and stuff like that.
Could you be the same size without?
That's what I want to test. I want to see how much I can maintain. Obviously, I know, you know, as you said, you're going to keep a good majority of what you put on, unless you went like a super far amount past your genetic potential. But I think it just kind of got me to my genetic potential faster. So I think maybe this is potentially, and I guess I'm going to find out where I would have been naturally had I trained, say, really hard for 10 years or something along those lines, and it just got me there in, say, 1 to 2 years. But it's really hard to say, and that's where doing this experiment of being natural for some time will kind of find out where I'm at.
So for myself, I was between about 205 and about 220. And anytime I tried to put on size, I would kind of chub out, and I was pro wrestling at the time, so that wasn't cool to have too much chub on your body. So I couldn't really fluff up all that much. I couldn't really truly commit to like a bulking, phase. And this is when I was natural. And so then around the age of 25 is when I decided to take stuff. But I think with the way my body weight is now and what I take right now, my testosterone levels at the moment, I think the last test that I had, they were still a little high, but my testosterone levels at the moment are falling back into like a normal range. So I will probably be, 10 or 15 pounds. I'll have 10 or 15 more pounds of muscle, which is a lot. And it makes everything a little easier in terms of your diet, because now you have a more active metabolism because your muscle costs a certain amount of calories. So it just makes everything a little bit easier for me. And it's something that I like to do because I like to look a certain way. And I've been this way since I was 25. So if I was to, revert back and to drop like 20 pounds, that would kind of suck. But what I'm trying to get across is they do a lot, but they don't do as much as people think.
Yeah,
they really
people think they're magic.
They really, really don't. Now, it all gets very confusing because most of the time when people start to take steroids, they have already, in most cases, I mean, sometimes there's just young guys that are taking stuff and they don't know much about training or nutrition. But a lot of times it's someone that has been training for 5 years or 8 years or about 10 years, and they're thinking about, man, like I've tried a lot of stuff with my nutrition. I've tried a lot of stuff with this. I've tried a lot of stuff with that. And I feel like I'm at a good point, and I think I want to take something because I want to see, how much further I can push it. And like I said, there's still a lot of young guys that are taking stuff, and they probably have no business messing with it because haven't really explored, what they can do naturally. And I do think that's important. I do think it's important to push yourself to a certain level because maybe you don't ever need them, And so it's good. It's a good idea for people to kind of push down that road. But really, in my opinion, the most that they're going to do for you is going to gain somewhere between 15 to 20 pounds. You can gain more weight if you want to gain body fat, but you're going to gain about 15 to 20 pounds. You're going to see an increase in your strength. But when you come back off of them, your strength will decrease. Some of those gains will decrease. You may be a little bit slightly further ahead than where you were, but I weighed 240 pounds when I was like 15, and I weigh about 240 pounds now. Body fat composition is different. I look a lot different than I did when I was a kid. But those people that are listening to this, that are kind of on the fence and are thinking about taking it, think about taking this drug instead. Think about taking the drug of consistency and trying to put in good, consistent, hard work over a long period of time. If you were just to pretend that I gave you a steroid and that it costs a lot of money, and now you're more invested in this game than ever, and you just took it more seriously, the gains and the things that will come from that. I know I sound like I'm preaching for, to like not to be anti-drug, but the gains that you'll get from that will be superior to what you would get from steroids.
That's actually good. I never really looked at it that way. Some people might actually use like anabolics or steroids as just a motivation piece to stay, like you said, like more consistent, which would be kind of interesting. But I mean, my biggest advice to people is, I honestly think, kind of as you said, you could probably get more results and progress out of dialing down your nutrition and your training than you would if it was still kind of haywire all over the place and you decide to throw anabolics into the mix. Especially because you're going to get one unwanted weight. You're probably going to bloat, get a ton of like water retention, just look entirely awful and watery. And it's not going to be quality. You're not going to have that longevity, especially because I know I get blood work done and I'm going to get some more as I progress, being more natural to see where my levels have fallen to. I know my cholesterol is always messed up. My platelets are always high. My testosterone was high, but that's because I was on cycle. So it just kind of throws everything off, and definitely your health always needs to be taken into consideration for sure, especially because I know a lot of young people don't necessarily look at the like research behind it or the side effects or what dosages to run, or a lot of them don't even know what a PCT is, and they decide that they want to run the most extreme anabolic cycle of all time. So it's really just having the knowledge behind it. And if you are on the fence, definitely, and if you want to take that next step, just make sure you know what you're doing before you do it.
I want to play devil's advocate here real quick. And so, for example, you look at guys like Jeff Nippard, who a lot of people don't think he is, but he puts out great content. And I personally do think he's not on anything, or never has been. Puts out great content, knowledgeable, helps people figure out how to handle their nutrition, how to handle their training. Even Brian DaCosta, who I think he's ultra natural too.
Man, he gets shredded.
He gets shredded, but he's not shredded all the time.
See, that's what I was curious, if he recycled or not.
Yeah, like some people do, but like at a certain point, even myself, it took me a long time to get to a point where I could be fairly lean and maintain it. You know what I mean? Because I had to build enough muscle to be able to get lean enough to do that. But I look at myself like if I was back in 15, 16, because I started training when I was 13, right? And I had the assumption that all these guys, let's say I was 13 now, or all these guys, they're taking shit, right? I don't think I would have given myself the time to actually just train in naivety, you know, just being perfectly naive and train. If I was like, oh, he's definitely on stuff, and oh, he can't, you know, have delts like that and be that lean. And I know that your content is meant to help people have a healthy dose of hopefully a healthy dose of skepticism when they look at this content. But I think that when it comes to some individuals that you've made videos on who definitely are, and they could be an outlier. They probably are. Well, they definitely are outliers. They're putting forward content to help individuals put in consistency, like Mark was saying. Put in the work before you try this, because you'd probably be very surprised where you get. You might not look like Brian DaCosta, but you look pretty fucking amazing. But if I were to watch your stuff as a young kid, instead of giving myself the time to train, I would just think all these dudes are on shit, and I'd want to hop on some SARMs or something too, because, well, there's no fucking way that he could do that without taking drugs, and he's probably lying about taking drugs. So why don't I just start now? You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
I mean, it definitely scares me to see some of the DMs I get of teens.
Even Andrew, bro.
Oh, I believe
he has
it.
some horror stories of young dudes on SARMs.
I believe it. I've heard people taking far more than I've ever taken, and they're like 17, 18, and it blows my mind. I could only imagine some of the stories you've gotten to, but it's actually horrifying to hear what people will do without knowing the repercussions. And I don't even know how they get it, to be honest. I don't know if they go and swipe their mom's credit card or what.
How do you make money?
Yeah, I'm like, first off, how do you, like, I understand how I get it because I have like products shipped to me, but that stuff's expensive. So if you're a high schooler, I don't know how you're affording that. But yeah, it's definitely a bumpy road, because I definitely don't want to encourage people. And I think I said on the podcast last time with you, Andrew, that I don't ever encourage anyone even consider taking anything until they're at least 25. I got into it earlier than that, and I wish I had waited till I was 25 and dialed in my nutrition and my training more before I'd ever dabbled in anything, just because that is the staple behind it. If you don't have your nutrition and your training down, you're not going to get anything out of it. And then also, like I said, your health is what's at stake. So you could entirely mess yourself up. You could suppress yourself for who knows how long. And it's just not really a road you want to go down. But unfortunately, you know, with social media and Instagram has become such a problem, because everyone looks phenomenal on Instagram year round now, where it's become really a body issue problem. And everyone wants to be, you know, sub 5% body fat year round, because I think that's what's actually going on. You know, as I said with Michael Hearn, I actually believed he was that shredded year round. Little did I know he goes through like phases of being big and shredded.
I think he kind of hates when he's bulking, to be honest. Like he's really like, as long as he's played the game for, I think he gets pretty self-conscious about it. He loves the strength side of it. He loves that he gets stronger, but he covers up a lot, and I think he kind of hates it, even though he knows it's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Right.
And then in regards to like the age thing, like I was saying 25 also, and then after Sarmageddon, I was kind of leaning more closer to like 30, because like I would get so many young people that would DM me and stuff, and I'm just like dude, like it's going to suppress your testosterone. There's no question about it.
Right.
Like, and you don't even know what your level is going to peak at. Like wherever that level is, you're gonna chop it down already, and you might not ever get to that natural peak ever again. Like, so you're running a really, really big risk, like all for like a dope Instagram photo. Like I'll say shit like that for them to realize, like, oh fuck, that's kind of is why I'm doing it. Every once in a while there'll be like a power lifter that'll want to do something. I'm just like, hey, like this isn't your last powerlifting meet. Like you're gonna have way more. You're just gonna get way better. But like I am now leaning more towards saying like, hey, you should wait till you're closer to 30 than 25. I know after 25 you're kind of done developing and whatnot, but I think just based out of like maturity and stuff, like you just, I don't know, either because by then you might not even want to do it at all. You know, you might be smarter than you are like at 18.
Especially because it's like you said with the magic pill. Like everyone thinks it's you pop it and then a couple days later you're Michael Hearn. and then I get the DMs subsequently after them telling me what they're on, and I'm horrified. Then they're like, hey, I'm not seeing any results taking this. So not only are they messing up their hormones and everything, they never had their nutrition or anything or training, and they think they can take, 5 off days while taking a SARM or testosterone or whatever they may be taking, and expect these like crazy magic like results. And it just absolutely blows my mind that they think that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Should there even be an age though? Like, I feel like it should be a training age.
Yeah.
Like, I know guys that are in their
That's
30s
smart.
that just started training, and they're 2-3 years in, and they've put on a substantial amount of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If they trained for 4 more years, at the age of 37, they'd probably be bigger than they've ever been. So I don't even think it should be an age, unless like it's something you really have always wanted to do. You should train for fucking 7-10 years before you even consider shit like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
and-
that's totally fair to say.
Well, and here's let's just back everything up for a second and think about, why are you training? You're training for a bunch of reasons, but some people will try to shift it over to like, I trained for football. And it's like, you're not really training for football. You're training because you want to feel more substantial. You want to feel better. You want to attract somebody. Like you don't maybe feel attractive. Like there's a bunch of little reasons in there that are really the main play, really the main reason why you did it in the first place. Maybe you were fat. Maybe you were skinny. Maybe you just saw some people that had muscle when you were a kid, and you're like, whatever that is, I want to find out more about it, and I want to try to figure that out. And so if we're thinking about that, and Nsima is 100% correct, it's like, just go and work out and train. Because can you have abs? Can you be strong without taking steroids? You certainly can. You certainly can. Can you start to go towards that and make some really good progress and go from a 315 deadlift to a 405 deadlift? Absolutely. Like that's kind of stuff is going to happen. And so if we're trying to think about like why you're doing all this in the first place, and you're just trying to feel good, you want your arms to be a little bit bigger, you're tired of being picked on, maybe some of these things are all factors, then you can start to eliminate a lot of those things, and you can start to get a lot of the things that you want without ever even really taking a steroid. Now, the thing that starts to happen is over a period of time, you want more and you start to get more into it. And you're like, I really love this. This is something that I truly enjoy doing. This is something I really love to do. And so that would be the time where you're like, you know what? Like, it does seem like it makes sense for me to do that because I like this so much. I like having muscle. I like being strong. I'm going to go for that. And I'm going to see what this looks like. And like you said, like, make sure that you are, paying attention, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. The thing that is interesting about steroids is I've seen a lot of people take them and not get really hardly any progress from them. It's amazing. So I think people are just going to take them and like, hey, like all this cool shit happened.
Right.
I've seen a lot of people not make any changes in their physique. I've seen people like barely make any changes in their strength. I've seen it have the opposite effect too. I've seen people make these crazy changes. But the main thing that a steroid is going to do for somebody is help them with weight gain. And like you said, you can get kind of bloated from them too, but it's going to help people gain weight. You can gain weight without taking steroids. Mm-hmm. It's going to be harder to gain just muscle though. That's going to be, kind of the play there. Is that's going to be the hard part, is just to gain muscle. And that's why at 25, I made a decision to jump ship and to go to the dark side, because I was like, I want to be able to put more muscle on easier. And this is a pain in the ass to try to figure out this struggle. So I understand the struggle that the natural people go through, because they're like, man, every time I try to put on muscle, I put on a little too much fat. And every time I try to lean out, every time I try to come down, I end up stripping off a little too much muscle.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And have you come off? Sorry.
No,
Andrew.
you're good. Go ahead.
Have you come off since you started
For what?
when you were 25?
For what, bro? No, yeah, I have, but just once, just to have Quinn pop out. Quinn. That's another thing though too, is like, you don't know if your reproductive shit's gonna come back.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a young guy and you want to have children, that is a huge factor. And then you can't have kids because you wanted bigger shoulders or bigger biceps.
Did it mentally affect you? Because that's what I've been debating recently. Is like, I think a big thing, and I don't know, maybe you could speak on this too, Andrew, with like your SARM stuff. But like going natural, I think it's definitely an addiction. I think just like any other drug, where you might not necessarily drop a lot of weight or lose a lot of strength, but mentally it just messes with you, thinking that you're like natural again. You think you're losing a ton of weight, even though, like I said, you may not be, or
Yeah.
and I don't know if you've experienced that, but I'm kind of starting to, and it's only been maybe like a week.
Oh, no,
now.
you can get really severely depressed because when you take testosterone, your testosterone levels go up, which can make you feel like the Incredible Hulk, make you feel great. Your estrogen levels will also go up, and then after a period of time, when you stop taking testosterone, that'll go down. The estrogen is probably, maybe not responding as quickly,
Right.
And so you're gonna have some wishy-washy feelings, and certain songs will come on, and you'll start crying in your car.
Yeah, and when it started happening to me, I didn't even want to like let anybody know, because I really believe that like if I say, oh man, I came off the SARMs and I got super depressed, everybody that stops a day after is gonna be like, oh man, I'm so sad.
Right.
And it actually did happen. Some guy DM'd me, he's like, dude, you're totally right. It's day 2, and I just like everything sucks. I'm like, that's the placebo, dude. Like, it's not actually happening. It was like 3 weeks after I came off everything. Like, the best way I can say it was like the sun wasn't as shiny anymore. Like, I just wasn't amped up to get back into the gym. And I'm like, man, what's going on here? And like strength wise, like, yeah, everything kind of went down a little bit, but it was like really, really, it affected me mentally. Like I was just not like pumped to do anything, like just across the board, like in and out of the gym. And I had told Tony, like, I'm like, hey, like I need to deal with this though. Like I need to kind of go through this shitty time period, because if I can get through this, then maybe at some point I will like jump on SARMs again, because then I'll know it's coming and I know I can get through it. And it was like a solid week or 2 where like I just like didn't feel too good, and then after that I was totally fine. But you're absolutely right. It just felt like something was totally missing.
Right.
Like, I couldn't put my finger on it, and obviously because this is the first time I had taken anything. And once I realized, like, oh, I bet you it's because I'm not on anything anymore, that's got to be it. Like, and so I just believed that to happen, and I just got over it right away. But it absolutely is something that not many people talk about it. You know, like Tony didn't tell me about it anything either, too, and he told me everything else. But he was like,
it's definitely overlooked, and why a lot of people mess themselves up, because they have a hard time separating from it, and then they're like, instead of going through that period of being natural, they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna run it year round, and then that's where you definitely run into a lot of health complications. Yeah. So,
but that should be something people think about, right, Mark? Because like,
absolutely,
when you started, I mean, you said that you're going to be on something a little bit for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that's a big thing people need to think about here. Like, I don't hear that said much. The only person I've ever had actually say that is you.
Yeah.
No one else has said that. So when a guy that's 20 is like, oh, I'm going to run something, he doesn't realize that probably, okay, he'll get some gains, but it's going to be an addiction. Like, it could turn into addiction at that point. You just want to be that big forever. It's something you're never going to really want to ever let go of.
Well, and also too, like, do you really want to come off of it for a long enough period of time for your natural stuff to come back, which who knows how long that could take, or maybe you impaired some of your abilities forever.
Yeah.
So that's why I just stay on them, because I'm like, and if you reference Bigger, Stronger, Faster, there's a period in the movie where, we talk about me coming off to have my daughter Quinn and stuff like that. And my brother tells Louis Simmons, he's like, yeah, Mark's going to get off steroids. And he's like, he'll take them again. Like, he just says it as so matter of fact, and because he knew, and I knew too. I knew I wasn't gonna like kiss him goodbye. And like right now, like what I'm trying to say too is that I'm trying just to keep my levels like in a natural. I'm not trying to be like Natty or anything. I'm just trying to keep my levels in more of a natural realm, because I don't really care to go for those. Like, I've lifted my biggest weights. I've done that before. I've done that, and I need to be okay with it. I need to say, like, the 1,000-pound squats are gone, the 800-pound benches are gone, and so might a 500-pound bench. Like, some of these things might be gone, but that's okay. You change your goals, you change your mindset, you change towards other things, and as you were pointing out, being on all the time could be very unhealthy. So I'm working on getting my blood to be better. My blood work gets better pretty much every time I get it tested, and I'm working on, trying to have it be as healthy as I can get it, at the moment. So it is definitely something to think about, is if you're going to go on them and you really do enjoy a lot of this, it's kind of like we talk about with, like, just don't buy certain foods. Just don't buy them. Don't get it. How do you avoid getting hooked on cigarettes? Don't ever fucking touch them. Right. Just don't ever smoke them. You're trying, if you really do love this game and you really love the feel of going in the gym and getting stronger, you might want to be careful what you add to the mix, because you may not be able to ever come off it again.
Right. And with your blood work, what has been the main problem or thing that you're working on?
The main thing has been, the kind of the same thing you were mentioning, platelets and things like that. And just, your blood can thicken, which obviously is not great. And you can donate blood to counteract that, but which I actually like to donate blood because it can help people. But at the same time, it's a pain in the ass. So you got to do it, a couple times a year or whatever. And then, a few other things were off. But, I have friends that will view it, and they're people I hold in high regard to be able to make sense of the blood work. And they'll say, oh, this is high because you're, a bigger guy, and this is high because you lift, like creatine levels and certain things like that might be a little bit high. But at the same time, it's like I want my shit to be as healthy as possible. And so that's all the stuff, cholesterol, things like that are it's like high, but then at the same time, we've had people on the show talk about, maybe cholesterol is not the only marker of, heart disease and some of these other things. So I'm trying to learn a lot of it too, but at the same time, I don't want to have an excuse. Right. I don't want to be like, well, they're high because I'm on stuff. It's like, well, I'm on stuff forever, pretty much. So they can't be elevated all the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, my recommendation to people, especially if you debate doing anything, definitely get blood work done beforehand, so you know where your natural levels are at before you ever dabble in anything.
Yeah, Mark was just mentioning about they'll help you gain weight and whatnot. How much weight did you gain in the 7 days that you were down here blasting basically every steroid under the sun?
It's actually mostly SARMs and then a ton of GH and insulin, which definitely don't recommend. That was like my video when I made the recap after. I was like, please don't do this. Like, I felt awful.
It was pretty funny. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but like we had Trevor Kuritzen and Tony Huge on the podcast. And then Trevor was a Canadian Trevor. I don't think you met him. I don't think he was in the States when you were here. He was like, I don't know why insulin has such a bad rep. And Mark's like, well, like, can it put you in a coma? And he's like, yeah, it can. He's like, well, people don't like comas. He's like, well, yeah, dude. He's like, because he was just trying to say that you can do it safely and whatnot. But we're like,
I wouldn't let him off the hook on that one. I'm like, you don't get to say that on our
show. We're gonna go to an intermission real quick.
Yeah, I had to keep kind of pushing him on that. I'm like, well, yeah, it has a bad reputation because you can die from it. Yeah. And then he's like, well, you can die from anything. I'm like, I understand.
Yeah, that guy's so smart though.
He was really intelligent, but that was dumb.
Yeah, especially because that's something you can take too much and instantly, you can just die pretty quick with that one. So that's definitely the most dangerous thing I would say in the bodybuilding world. Yeah. And that's why I recommended people don't even dabble in it. Yeah. And GH along with that, unless it's like doctor prescribed, obviously, and you're letting your doctor work on that for you, because from my experience, I put on, just to tell everyone, 20 pounds in the 7 days. But so much of it was water, and even sleeping, I could feel my heart struggling because of how much fluid retention there was. And then I had like pedal edema where like my ankles and my feet swelled up, probably like, I don't even know how big, but it was painful to like even put on socks and shoes. So there was so many side effects along with it that I was like,
you know what's crazy
about that?
The results
in weight gain just aren't worth it.
You know what's crazy about that? There's people that walk around feeling like that all the time,
right?
Just because they eat too much. They have a hard time gaining control over their diet, and I see it all the time. I see people like stuffing down bagels and stuff, and I'm like, man, you can't go up to someone without being like rude, but you wish you could share information with them and say, you don't need to feel that. I wish I could help you, but maybe you don't want to be helped at the moment. So,
it's like Ken Berry was, can I walk into like a restaurant and just be like, you shouldn't do that. Is that rude?
Right. Yeah. You just come sliding in out of nowhere.
Is anyone sitting here? Cool, I am.
What's the upper limit you think in terms of strength, and what's the upper limit in terms of how lean someone can get without performance enhancing drugs? Is there a known limit?
That's actually a really good question. So, I mean, I've even stated on my channel numerous times, I can never judge if someone's on steroids based off of strength, because I've seen some incredibly freaky strong guys that I know are 100% natural. And that's why I'm like, you know what? I don't know necessarily. Obviously, it stimulates your nervous system and everything where you're able to push more weight for sure. But I've seen some incredibly strong guys. I don't know an exact number per se. I mean, obviously it's genetic, your training regimen, form, technique, like everything factors in for sure. And then also getting lean, I think anyone can get just as lean as someone running all the compounds in the world, because at the end of the day, it's just being in a caloric deficit. So if your goal is just to be lean, you can definitely do that naturally and get just as lean as someone who's taking a bunch of stuff. So
I hope people heard that. You know what I mean? Like that's important for people to know. We don't know how strong you can be.
Right.
We don't know how lean you can be. And in fact, I think when I look at a lot of the natural bodybuilders, some of the guys that I think are natural and compete in natural bodybuilding, sometimes I think they're leaner, and sometimes I think they look better than the professional bodybuilders. Someone like Alberto Nunez comes to mind. I mean, that guy gets
diced.
He gets shredded, and there's no extra water on him or anything. I mean, he gets so lean. He's got like a lean forehead and lean, lean muscles in his face and shit. It's pretty wild.
And he gets other people that lean too.
Yeah.
Like he's gotten me that lean in the past.
Yeah.
So like when people say,
so he did your coaching?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
back in 2014, 2015, I was getting ready for WNBF Worlds, and Alberto helped me with my prep, and he got me like that lean. I was down to 228. I was probably around 5-6%, but that's not a zone that I stayed in for more
And that
than
was
like
also
2.5 months.
like a really long diet.
The prep was
right?
40 weeks.
So here's a big difference for people to understand too. And I've mentioned I've been using for many years. My prep for my bodybuilding show was like 8 weeks. He did 40 weeks.
Right.
So it's like,
By the way, this was at 238. So this was halfway through my prep that I did this show, by the way.
look at those legs.
So I wasn't even as close to as lean as I was when I did WNBF Worlds.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you were saying like the length of prep.
Yeah, the length of prep. I mean, even like a lot of the pro bodybuilders, they go up and down. They shift so much. If you're going to be a natural athlete, you can't get as far away from your contest shape. You have to be a little bit more cautious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take you a lot longer to get in shape. You can't really do an 8 or 6 week prep unless you were staying really lean from previous shows.
Even if a guy were to do like a 20-week prep.
You look awesome there, dude.
Yeah,
you really
It's
do.
insane.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I lost about 10 more pounds before Worlds. So I cut off, or Alberto and I cut 10 pounds off of here. But the thing is like, even like if a natural guy were to do a 20-week prep, he still needs to be a little bit lean starting in that prep.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you don't see guys getting away with 10 to 12 week preps unless they're like extremely lean already. Because for natural dudes, it takes a longer amount of time to lose body fat. It took me 40 weeks to lose 30 pounds.
Right.
Yeah, nobody really wants to say, especially when people are using, they don't want to say that steroids are a shortcut, but they certainly are.
Mm-hmm.
They just are. They're a shortcut. But once you take the shortcut, you already took the shortcut, and you're already like it. You don't get further progress from it unless you continue to take like more stuff, or cycle through other things, or start to implement crazier shit over a period of time. It's like I said earlier, it's going to give you maybe that about 20-pound burst.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were to take them in Nsima, you would just be you'd be standing here just as you are now, and you'd weigh 20 pounds more.
That's kind of crazy.
That's
probably
a lot of weight.
I probably wouldn't even put on I probably wouldn't gain that much body fat either.
Well, no, because you already have the discipline.
Yeah.
Some guys put on body fat, and some guys, almost start to look almost out of shape because they don't have the discipline, and they think the steroids are going to cover up their ice cream habit. And it certainly doesn't work that way. I wish it did.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then, like you said, yeah, just the more muscle you build, the more you're able to get away with calorie-wise and everything to fuel your body. So, oh man, this is a topic where I feel like you could just go all day,
my
'cause
God,
there's
yeah, you
like
could talk about it for years.
so many topics.
Have you ever seen? This is from a long time ago, but I think they still have stuff like this. They used to have the power team. It's like a religious team that would go around and they would, do feats of strength in churches and stuff like that. Andrew can probably punch it up off of
No
YouTube.
way.
This is real?
Right. That's the question.
Right.
That's the question. Is it real? And
like fake weight type stuff.
so
or what are you
these
talking?
so these guys would I think they probably did use some fake weights. These guys would go around the country and they would inspire kids and they had a great
Oh God.
they had a great cause going. Yeah, so like look, is this shit fake? Like this karate type acts where you're chopping through bricks and blocks and does it just look impressive? Are you deceiving the audience? This falls into and now they're breaking ice with their head and so on. Is this stuff that's deceiving the audience? Is it really actually powerful?
They're making such a
and
mess.
if it's
Ooh, look at that.
wow, he just hit the people's elbow.
Wait, what?
And they're blowing up a hot water balloon.
Look at the setup though is my favorite part. Look at he's like, yeah,
It
where's
looks
he
like
going? Where's he going? Whoa, I didn't see that.
Looks like a wrecked construction site.
And now they're like blowing up, hot water bottle and
I'm more
and-
confused. They just go to random churches and do this?
So this
Pull
is like
off?
strength for Jesus, right?
Yeah,
Like
reps for Jesus.
Is this the message behind this?
They used to actually I don't know if they'll show these guys actually lift. Okay, they're ripping apart phone books and stuff, and like a lot of this stuff when you saw it,
That guy didn't look in shape at all though. It looked
right?
terrible.
Oh yeah, no, a lot of them are like not. Yeah, they're not like jacked and stuff like that. And I don't know. It kind of brings up the topic of deceit. You know,
Do people actually receive phone books anymore, by the way?
I don't think so.
no,
I
haven't
think
in a
it's an
long
outdated
time.
thing.
We do in South Sac, but we just throw them away.
Like, so this guy's bending steel, right? It's like, how do we know what steel he's got there? Or like, and
Right.
these guys would lift on stage and do certain things. And by the way, all these guys that are going to this religious thing, they would also preach that they're natural. And it's obvious that a few guys on the stage probably aren't natural. Look at him breaking those baseball bats would probably already have a little nick in them. You know what I mean?
This is amazing, Mark. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, like, okay,
How do I get on the power team?
it would
When's this video from?
These guys probably aren't doing any harm. I mean, they're
Right.
probably going to these places and they probably are inspiring some young kids and stuff like that. And maybe they do get kids to get into martial arts, or maybe they do get kids inspired to
I think they're inspiring me to have their job.
go
Yeah.
pick up some weight, right?
Like, is this any different than like the Harlem Globetrotters? Right. Like
That's
when
a good point.
when I was a kid, I thought that was real.
wait, it's not.
See?
Wait, real talk. Wait, what's fake about the Harlem Globetrotters?
Yeah,
I'm legit serious
no,
right
the
now.
Globetrotters are real, but they don't have like a real defense on them, I guess, right?
Oh, okay.
That's kind of the main thing.
Yeah. Well, so they accidentally lost one game because like they were winning by like 1 point,
Oh.
and then I forgot what the team name is.
Washington Generals.
Yeah, one of the guys, he just like threw the ball from like the entire court and
Oh.
it went in, and they're like,
Oh.
oh shit, we
No.
weren't supposed to, like, they're not supposed to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, Nsima. I mean, obviously, like
Sorry.
like these guys, that fire's real. When the Globetrotters are dribbling, that
Yeah.
shit's real. Like
Yeah.
they do a lot of amazing things with the basketball.
I thought wrestling was real for the longest time when I was a kid.
That is
Same.
real.
It
That
is.
looks like John Anderson.
But I think, no, Mark, that's a really good question, because as a kid, when I started training, I thought that like guys like The Rock and a lot of like, even bodybuilders, I thought they were natty. Like a lot of bodybuilders that I now understand weren't. And as a kid, that like, I'm happy that I was naive, because again, if I wasn't I don't know if I've said this on this podcast, I've never taken shit, if you believe it or not. But when I did start training, if I thought that everyone was taking shit,
Right.
that actually even were, some weren't, but some were, I might have, being naive and wanting to do things faster, because as a kid, you don't have fucking patience, right? But if you're like, ooh, I can do that, I can do it,
Yeah.
then you just do shit.
Yeah.
Who knows where you'll get?
Yeah. Well, watching Rocky, right? Like we didn't know.
Shit was badass.
Yeah, the Russians
Gulp down some eggs.
exactly.
But
yeah.
but that brings up a good point. Like, is it like some of those guys you said are actually weren't natural, but like, where's the line there? Because that's not, it's kind of not okay. You shouldn't be saying you
Right.
are if you aren't.
Yeah.
But
I think
like,
the line gets drawn when somebody is taking something and then they're saying, "Damn, this protein got me there." That's where
see,
the
that's
issue
the
is.
shit that's the shit that's fucking up everything in the
Yeah.
fitness industry that I think you're on.
I think the big ridicule that Mike got was just his duck egg.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that.
Yeah, what was the whole? I don't really
Yeah.
even know.
Can you explain that?
It was, let me see if I remember all of it correctly. I think it was like $700 for like this certain select duck eggs, where Michael Hearn made kind of a claim like that, where that's where all of his gains came from, was these duck eggs. So, and that was, I think, where the huge like natty or not thing really blew up, because everyone's like, oh, he's trying to push his duck eggs.
I remember that. That's been a meme for a long time. The duck
right.
eggs.
Mike O'Tren.
Yeah. And then the night, yeah, I think his name just flows with that. But yeah, that's definitely something that's really prevalent for sure. And that's a big red flag, is when I see people pushing like a lot of stuff. That's a big red flag that normally more times than not. Or if I see natural in the bio. I don't know if you put natural in your bio or not.
I still am. I even changed my Instagram name from the Natty Professor to Nsima Inyang, and the main reason is because it's like this is another like thing that goes through the industry. If you have natty in your name, you're not natty. People say that for some reason.
Right.
So if you're obviously saying you're natural, oh, that's obviously a red flag, you're not. Or if you have natural in your bio. But the problem is, this is what I think is the big problem with
It's like
that whole
reverse
argument.
psychology.
Yeah, but like this is the thing. Like a guy like Brian DaCosta, who you made a video about recently.
Right.
He wants to put forward that he's a lifetime natural because he's an advocate for people not taking drugs. And if you are someone like him who has great genetics, who's gotten really big, you don't want people to think you're taking drugs because you're not. You want people to train. You want people to get their nutrition on point. I don't think he's out here shilling products and saying, hey, this got me big.
I don't think so either.
He's out here just trying to put out information saying, he's not even saying if you train like this, you'll get as big as me. But all he's saying is that if you train well and you have your nutrition on point, you might not get as big as me, but you'll probably get pretty fucking big, and you'll probably you'll have a pretty impressive physique. So I do think it's important for people to do that. But the problem is on the other side, when everyone's like, he says he's natural, that means he's not natural. So what the fuck are they supposed to say?
Right.
Like, are you supposed to not say it at all? Are you supposed to just be like, shit, I'm natural, but if I say I'm natural, then I'm not natural? Shit.
I think that's the better way now. Yeah, it's just like not
just
even talking about it.
yeah.
But but that's the thing. I think if you are, and you're trying to encourage people to just be patient, you need to let them know. No matter who doubts it, you got to let them know.
Let's use like Brian DaCosta or like a Simian Panda as like an example, right? Let's say that they are 5%, just in general, 5% more out of shape than they would be right now if they were actually natural, right? So here's where some of the deceit can come in, and here's where some of it can seep in, and it can be a little bit different than what you're pointing out. So like maybe they don't say like this protein, makes me better, right? But maybe they're promoting that they're natural, but still getting themselves to a level that they otherwise wouldn't be able to achieve through taking steroids. And what I kind of mean by that is, if you think like some of these people, like the better that they look and the crazier shit that they can perform and do, then maybe that elevates their social media status. And then maybe they can use that social media status to make more money and to get ahead a little bit further. And so maybe there's some deceit like in just some of that, even if they're not like, hey, this is the way I got here. This is the way I was able to do or obtain this. You take someone like Arnold, who I don't think really Arnold was ever really saying that he was natural, right?
No, he opened up about what he took.
Yeah, I think he talked about it, quite a bit. But somebody like Arnold, it's a crazy, wild thing to even think of. But Arnold Schwarzenegger may not have ever been the Terminator. He may not have ever been the governor of California. He may not have ever been Arnold Schwarzenegger without taking steroids, right? So it's a really, when you start to think about, drugs in general, they take you to a place you otherwise wouldn't be able to get to. Whether it's just you climbing the social media ladder. I don't know Brian's business. Like he's been in really good shape for a long time. And, I know him a tiny bit. So some of these people, when they say they're clean, I don't have any other reason to believe, I haven't like investigated it. So I don't really know, I'm not really sure. But I think that's maybe where some people are like, I think this guy's full of shit. Or I think that's where people get triggered kind of, right?
I think it's also a trust thing too, because I know for me personally, I was under the basically mindset that a lot of my favorite athletes were natural all the way until probably I was around early 20s. And then I remember CT Fletcher day after day would claim natural, saying, come do a drug test on me if you don't believe me, come do this. And I was like, oh yeah, he must be natural if he's so confident in it. And then on the podcast, I think it was even like Joe Rogan's or someone's, he opened up about what he took. So it's like the entire time he was lying, saying that he was natural. And then it kind of just like really breaks you down to where you lose trust in a lot of your favorite like fitness icons. Because if they're willing to go that extent to bluffing, hey, any fan come drug test me anytime, I'll test natural. And then you find out this whole time they were unnatural. you're like, wow, okay, people can bluff like really well to try and sell the fact that they're natural. And I understand it from CT's perspective because obviously, as Mark touched on, you want to be, you know, the top of the industry basically, and it kind of sets you apart. If CT's pushing these crazy numbers and doing these crazy workouts and doing it all naturally, it sets him apart from, say, those guys that are probably maybe pushing less than him and doing it unnaturally.
Yeah.
There's also a really weird thing about like when you start to do them. Like if you wanted to do them, like if you came in and you were like asking some questions, I might kind of laugh because I'd be like, well, you don't do them. Like what, you know, why even asking? You'd be like, no, seriously, bro. Like I want to get some shit. I might like shrug it off, but then for you to like all of a sudden like share information with other people that you're now doing it. So some of these people that were already following their story and were already looking at into what they're doing, they all of a sudden, you know, get a little burst ahead, or they start making some, you know, little small changes. It's not like they're going to be like, hey, like I started doing this thing, because like I made my change when I was at Westside Barbell, and when I was there, I was like asking people in the gym, and then they all just thought I was a cop. Because like you said you're clean, you said you don't do that stuff, so like we just, you know, they never asked me again about it, and like anytime I tried to bring it up, they were like, yeah, they would just not talk to me about it. You know, they're like, are you, you know, trying to incriminate me or something? You know,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it gets to be weird, I guess, once someone goes from natty to not natty. Then it's like, how do you have I haven't even seen anyone really do that on social media. Maybe someone has, where they're just like, hey, like I'm making a switch. Like I was natural for a long time. I gave it a good run. I gave it a good shot. Now I'm going the other direction.
Yeah.
I think Brandon Harding's the only one I can think of who's a YouTuber that's done that. But he got really positive feedback from it because I think a lot of people just admired his honesty about being open about it and, you know, not trying to lie and continue to say that he's natural, even though, say, he made the transition into being unnatural.
Who's the biggest and strongest, most natural person that you think is actually natural?
Ooh, that's a
Come
tough
across
one.
anybody? Because there's like some bodybuilder dudes that are like pretty fucking jacked that compete naturally, that have had blood tests. Saw in one of your videos, there was a guy
Right.
communicating with you, and he was saying like there's like a $10,000 challenge or something to anyone that can, you know, prove that this guy's not natural or something like that.
Was that Keon Peterson?
I think so.
Who competes in classic physique?
Look him up. I don't know who that is.
Oh, you don't know Keon?
He's a bodybuilder?
Yeah, classic physique. I think he placed 5th or 4th
In
at the
Olympia?
Olympia this year.
Oh, it was maybe someone that flex
Yeah.
wheeler was training for free or something like that.
Okay. Trying to think.
It might have
Maybe
been
it
him, but I think he was
Trying to
pretty.
think who would be, like the strongest that I would think 100% is natural. See, for the longest time, I actually thought like half Thor was natural until he opened up recently and said that he wasn't. Because I'm not too well dabbled in like the strongman world or anything. So, and like I said, I've never judged someone's strength based off of like thinking that are strictly on steroids, because I've seen personal people.
Has anyone become a pro bodybuilder, do you think, naturally? Like they've said that about like, I guess like Ronnie Coleman and Kai Green and a couple of things. Do you think any of that?
I think there's definitely some. I think it was definitely more common,
That
say
dude looks
a
fucking
few
crazy.
years ago.
Dude.
His insertions and his structure is just absolutely crazy.
Is this Keon
Yeah, Keon Peterson.
Peterson?
He's a young kid too. I think he's like 21.
Jesus Christ, he looks awesome.
Yeah, I think he's like 21 would be my guess.
You know, though, I know two guys. One you made a video about.
Those
His
quads.
name's Kendall. He's the one that has like
Yeah,
over
he
a
lives
million
here,
views.
right?
He lives in
Yeah, I
Sacramento.
met him when I was here with Tony.
And a second one, Joshua Gilliam. In a few years, like, or even right now, if you put them next to each other, next to this dude, they'd give him a run for his money in terms of their size. Kendall's not as big as this guy,
Right.
But that's the thing. It's like it's tough, but like, yeah, I actually literally know people like that,
Right.
you know?
So what you're saying is it's not too far fetched that you could look like this naturally.
That
See,
certain individuals see that,
Right,
that's
sorry.
the thing.
Yeah,
like
correct.
when we look at this whole thing, it's like, will most people ever even achieve this physique in their lifetime without taking a buttload of drugs? No, most people won't. But
right.
Well, I'll just
It's-
say I wouldn't look like this guy no matter what I took, or
Yeah.
who trained me.
yeah, like
It wouldn't matter who was helping me and what I took. I wouldn't look
But
like
see,
that
the
guy.
interesting part is, so he was natural up until last year, and then this year for the Olympia, he decided to hop on stuff, supposedly,
okay,
to try and take his physique to the next level to potentially win Olympia.
yeah,
But I don't know if you know Greg Doucette.
I've heard the
YouTube
name.
channel.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he did a review talking about how Keon, his stage weight basically didn't change. I think he was like high 180s or something on stage. Didn't change from the time he was natural to unnatural, which Greg saw as a big red flag, because it's like, obviously if you touch anabolics, you should most likely, especially if you're training and nutrition's probably dialed like Keon's, you should probably put on like 10 to 15 pounds.
Did
of
he
muscle
look into the
on
body
his
fat
frame.
though? Like,
Yeah.
was he
About
in
the same conditioning, I would
same
say.
conditioning?
Yeah. So, and it definitely did raise a pretty good question, because I was questioning it, because I did believe Keon was natural, just insanely good proportions, genetics. And then, I mean, he looked phenomenal on stage at Olympia as well. And PJ, who's the guy sitting right there in the middle, who's doing the coaching for Keon, said that he had him on just really low dose everything. That way he can make weight for his division.
Yeah, is it
Because they obviously didn't want him to get too big to where he wouldn't be able to compete.
Yeah,
So
and then is it possible like his muscles are so developed that even just that little bit of whatever he took like didn't really do much because he had already achieved so much, like everything was so dense
Well, and
already.
PJ said too that he had him on less than he's had some of his female competitors on too, because his body just responds so well to it that, like I said, they had to make weight for the classic physique division for his height, that they didn't want him to just blow up. But I guess apparently next year he's going to do 212. So he's going to plan to put on a lot of size.
my
Obviously,
God,
high
212.
180s to
That dude's gonna
212.
be scary.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So yeah, he'll be a force to be reckoned with.
And he's 21 or
He's a
about
young-
early 20s.
Early 20s.
Yeah.
I don't know, confirmed 21, maybe 21 to
Yeah,
23,
early 20s.
somewhere in
That's
that range.
fucking crazy.
It's probably looked kind of similar to this for the last 5 years, I bet, too, you know?
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he's looked crazy for a while.
John Cena gets tested because the WWE, they implemented some drug tests, and some people snicker about it because they're like, oh, it's fake ass wrestling, you know. But John takes his test and he puts them on the wall at his gym. And he's got like a few hundred of them kind of scattered throughout the wall on the gym, because he actually does get drug tested. But I don't know how extensive it is. I don't know, what they're specifically testing for. Have you ever gone to the lengths of getting someone like a blood test? Have you ever like pressured somebody, or someone have taken you up on like, hey, I want to prove to you that I'm clean?
You're probably laughing because you probably know who it is, huh? Julian Smith, is that the one?
No, I was thinking of Kwame, but I don't know.
Oh, Kwame.
Kwame, yeah.
So Kwame did one for Tony and them at Olympia 2018, I believe, where Tony just like randomly took Kwame into the men's restroom and did a pee test in front of him, and then they took the pee and tested it, and he came back natural. But yeah, probably the biggest one though would be Julian Smith. I don't know if you guys know him or not. But so his big thing is he's been claiming natural for a long time, but he's also admitted to taking pro hormones. So he wants me to come drug test him to prove he's a natural athlete. But I'm like, okay, like, yeah, you might be natural. Say at the moment I drug test you, but you haven't been a lifetime natural. So our big thing every time we bump into each other is I'm trying to guess and see if he's in his most crazy condition of all time to go take him to do a drug test. But if he's not in his most crazy condition, obviously I know he's like maybe, in between cycles, maybe he's natural, maybe he's not. Who's to really say? But we always go back and forth because he always flexes, and I know he does this when he's natural. He tries to like pressure me into drug testing him. I know when he's natural because he tries so hard every time. He'll have like 4 of his friends come and say, hey, come, all right, I'm ready to do the drug test. When you come to drug test me, he'll call me like 15 times. But then on the other end of the spectrum, when I have a hunch that he's unnatural and I'm pushy about it, he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But then once again, he claims natural, but he's admitted to taking pro hormones. So I guess it's kind of your perception of what you believe is natural or not.
Yeah. So so that's the thing. He's admitted to taking pro hormones, right?
Right.
Then
So definitely not a lifetime natural, but I
Yeah.
guess it's like up to everyone's interpretation of what they believe is natural or not. So that's where it just really gets confusing. Because I always was under the impression, especially with my videos, just asking someone if they're natural, it should be a pretty straightforward question. But now I've gotten to the point, and after like talking to people, I'm like,
There's
damn,
a
I'm
lot
gonna
of
have to be
new
like really
terminology.
detailed. Like, okay, are you a lifetime natural? Have you taken this, and this? How long have you been on this? Have you taken any breaks in between? Like, I'm gonna have to get so detailed because everyone's perception of natural is just so misconstrued now.
Do you feel like some of this is just the American way, like to kind of you sell people on a dream and you don't really tell them the whole story?
I feel like it's pretty popular everywhere, would be my guess. But I think just American culture is like so much bigger, would be my guess, at least from what I see, just in general, like social media wise. and to like especially who's here, because I feel a lot of, you know, you have like Callum Von Moger, everyone just kind of makes their way, it seems, to like California, Venice area. And
when you think about like the things that are advertised the most to us are the worst for us, you know, Coke, Pepsi, McDonald's, all that kind of stuff. It's usually like cheap, and it just has a lot of advertising dollars behind it. And maybe they're not telling you, like they're not sharing with you how bad it is for you, right? They're just trying to make it seem like you need this in your life, you know, and they're not sharing the whole story with you. And I think maybe some of that is kind of going on in the fitness industry too, where, you know, people are saying, hey, this is great, you know, this does this for you, whether it's a supplement or whether it's their training style or whatever, and they're maybe not sharing with you the whole story on like how they got that lean. You know, here's my program, it takes me 30 minutes a day, you know, and here's they're just trying to like sell you on stuff. And I think that most things in America has been sold that way for a really long time. If you look at like an infomercial, if you've ever been suckered into buying something from that, you buy something and it breaks, you know, 3 days later, and you're like, man, that was a real piece of shit, you know. And I just think that that's maybe the, you know, part of just the country that we live in, and the way that we've all kind of grown up.
No, most definitely. I think too, just especially in the last year, what we've been talking about has just become so much more popular and prevalent. Like almost every conversation, especially when I go to the expos, everyone I talk to, like the first thing everyone's talking about, or if you walk up to two guys talking at an expo, more times than not, they're going to be talking about what they're taking. And it's kind of crazy. It's almost become like a multivitamin, or like taking a like what whey protein you're taking. Now it's like, what ester of trenbolone are you taking? You know?
You talking about athletes or just normal people that
just normal people,
like people waiting in line
like just
to meet
people
Mark.
in the fitness, yeah. Like it's kind of crazy, but you wouldn't guess that they're on anything, obviously, by the look of them. And I think it's solely because they believe in the magic pill, that they take something, they're gonna instantly become the next Mike O'Hearn, next Simeon Panda, next Julian Smith, next whoever. But they just don't have that nutrition and the training dialed.
Yeah,
and even me, I've been training for a couple of years now. I still don't even think I have nearly enough knowledge, because it's always adapting. I know everyone's body and genetics is different, responds different to different things, and I think it's just a trial and error time thing of testing with your body and seeing what works.
Yeah, and then you won a show recently, or not too long ago, but then like the follow-up show, what happened? Like,
and that was a perfect example of like learning nutrition and how my body responds. So basically, I won the first show, doing basically low carb all the way through the show, almost keto. And then second show, I kept hearing everyone saying like, oh, carb up, like you'll fill out. And I had ingrained in my mind that I was flat and like stringy looking, like I was lean, but I felt like I was flat. So I was like, you know what? And for instance, I was taking in about 150 grams of carbs a day. And then the 2 days prior to the show, each day I consumed about like 500 grams of carbs. Ooh. Like way too much. So spiked my insulin super high, spilled over, got like really watery, soft, because I didn't know this, but I was already like filled out. I already looked like great. I looked way better a week out than I did the day of the show. And it was just the trial and error, learning that obviously going from 150 grams of carbs, maybe I should have bumped maybe to 200, tested out the day before. And then if I'm starting to spill over, maybe drop back down to 150 where I was at. Because if you look how you want a week out from the show, like why change anything? And I tried doing the magic, change something at the last second to try and pull off a phenomenal miracle. And more times than not, you're going to destroy your physique. So yeah.
And that was
learning the hard way, but it was a life lesson.
Yeah, and that's a hard lesson, and you put it out there too. You're like a lot of like YouTube sucks, like with the comments and stuff. Like I didn't know what to expect with Sarmageddon. It got super negative quick. With your channel and just like your YouTube presence, period, like did you expect to have so much like negativity come back your way? Like, cause
that video?
No, just from like in general, like you started it because you're like, it seems like you were trying to let people know like, hey, like this is, they're kind of lying to you. And then come to find out everyone's like, now they're mad at them, but they're even more mad at you for pointing them out. You know what I mean?
I mean, I kind of expected it because like I said, even I'm fans of people, and you're always going to do everything to defend, who you're fond of, whether that's family, friends, or an idol, someone you look up to. So I definitely expected, if I was to call out Mark about something, obviously I would expect his fan base to retaliate and defend him. So it was something I definitely expected. Maybe not to the extent, I didn't know how like diehard Larry Wheels fans were until I put up that Larry Wheels video, but like damn, they're ruthless. Like, I learned the hard way. I was like, holy shit, he has a loyal fan base, which is awesome for him and awesome for his fans that they love him that much and support him like that. But yeah, I definitely expected to gain into it because I knew me myself, like I'd probably do the same thing if I was a diehard fan of someone and they got called out for something.
You get into any fights with anybody?
The funny part is I did a podcast with Bradley Martin and we talked about this and I was like, I've been trying and like, I'll like try and like even offer to like spar people like that I know have a problem with me. And I'm like, you know what, like we can just go like spar in a ring, something like that. You know, it's sanctioned. Like there's not going to be any felonies, charges, anything like that. And I try and get under people's skin a lot of the time because I'm definitely a troll. Like I just like to troll people. And I also get the common question of like, do you hate this person or why do you do this to this person? And it's really just like to have fun. Like I don't hate anyone I've called out. Honestly, it's just like an entertainment content purpose. And I have nothing against them. Maybe if, you know, they're lying and being super deceitful or they have bad character traits, like for sure. But I always like to give people the chance, you know, to retaliate back at me a little bit.
Who's being super deceitful?
Ooh. There's some good names out there. Let's see. Brad Castleberry for sure at first, but I think he has changed. I don't think he's posting as much of the like fake weight, like benching 675 type content anymore, which is great. And I love him for that. Let's see, like Summer Rae. She does a ton of like photoshopping, but claims she never photoshops. And then she'll Photoshop like her swimwear and her clothing site to help like promote sales. Let's see. And there's a lot of it too, like even not just in the fitness industry, but just YouTube and social media in general. You'll have people that fake so much or stage certain videos just for the views and the response from the audience. So for instance, prank channels. I don't know if you've had like Cassidy Campbell or any of them on like the podcast, not or yet, but he knows a lot about how much of fake YouTube content there is there. Well, they'll put out a Craigslist ad looking for an actor for like $20 to $50 to fake a reaction. And then they'll go try and make it look like, oh, this is just a random stranger on the street and they're pulling off this crazy reaction and this, that. And then you get the viral video. And it's more common than I think a lot of people would think. And not just with pranks, like just YouTube in general, like so much fake and set up everything.
What's up with this wall sit that you exposed?
My girl Heba. So me and her, funny story with that one is I probably would have said she's one of the most fake and deceitful people in the industry. But now we're really good friends because we like started to see eye to eye on the whole situation. But that was my first really big video, was the wall sit with Heba, and called her out. I felt really bad about it.
What was it?
900-pound wall sit. And so I called her out. She posted a clip to Instagram doing a 900-pound wall sit. I called her out about it. Obviously, she responded saying like, hey, I could do it. Fly down to Vegas and I'll prove to you I can do it. So I didn't back down from it. I flew out to Vegas, met her, and then I didn't know at the time, but she was dating Real World Tactical, who's the blurred out guy in the clip. And he got super heated about it. I thought he was just her trainer at the time, but yeah, they were dating. And yeah, they start to stack the plates, trying to get up to like 900 pounds.
This looks so dangerous.
And then she collapses. And that's the thing is, after she collapses the first time, I got legitimately scared for her health and safety, because I didn't want her like snap a leg or something with me filming. And then you could see like it even like went to her head a little bit. And the fucked up part is Tony's dating her and he's like, get up, do it again, like proved. And I'm just like sitting there in silence, like
so you're there filming?
I think yeah, so they wanted to film it to put it on my channel to basically like prove to me that the weights are real and whatnot. But she's actually a great girl.
How much weight did she get up to right there?
I think she was pretty close. I think she was a couple plates away. And she added a couple to try and push it past what she had initially gotten to. I think she was maybe, 4 plates away by the time she collapses or something.
That's what I was going to say. Like, even that right there is like, holy shit. Like, still
crazy without a doubt.
That's insane, yeah.
And she is an awesome girl. She's like super cool,
What's
super
the
humble.
story? Did she just end up using a couple fake plates?
So what she says is, after this was filmed, she showed me clips on her phone filming it, where she was holding it a lot longer, but then she also had the argument that she got in the car crash the day before and that it was injury related. And this is where me and Tony get like heated with one another. Tony calls me the N-word, which made no sense. But
Tony was all upset.
I'm pretty sure he still hates me, by the way. Those were good times. But no, she's super awesome.
What was he mad about?
I think it was just being like the defensive boyfriend type thing.
Oh.
I
Why
called
would
her
he
out,
even
but I
let
didn't know
her-
they were dating at the time.
Yeah. Then why would he even like put her in that position? That's weird.
I don't know. And what's funny is I was at the Arnold this year, and I was there with Generation Iron, and they talked to Real World Tactical or Tony a little bit, and they're like, "Hey, Tony, Kenny's here. Like, can he come by the booth?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can come by the booth, but that motherfucker ain't stepping in my booth." I'm like, okay, yeah, that could be respected. We had some beef in the past.
Yeah,
But-
so then what happened with the Heba thing? She was showing you stuff on her phone.
Oh yeah, so yeah, she was showing me like the car crash that happened the day before, how the injury impaired her from doing the longer duration that she showed me like on her phone. But no, she turns out to be like super cool, super down to earth, and like no problems with her. And we've filmed a lot of content since then, like together at the Arnold, and then recently at Olympia a couple times. So, but definitely
That's
my
cool.
biggest video for sure.
Yeah.
Who have you gotten threats from? You gotten threats from anybody?
Ooh, I don't know if I'm able to say. there's some current lawsuits. Yeah, you probably know.
Ah, yes. Okay.
There's
I
lawsuits
can't
going
make
on?
any claims. Yeah, I've had a couple lawsuits of like defamation,
Wow.
slander, a couple different individuals.
Is it like you can't mention the name for legal reasons, or
Yeah, I'm trying
Gotcha.
to settle it. So
okay,
yeah, trying to put water under the bridge.
okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, but
Damn.
and then not just from that individual though, but I've received like a couple threats before. Nothing's ever been done in any type of way, but just like messages,
Does that ever
which is
like?
probably pretty standard, I would think.
Yeah. Do you ever feel in the back of your head like, if I say something about the wrong person, they could really like
Mike
have you?
Rashid.
Who? Oh,
Mike
yeah.
but the
That's
thing was, I never had beef with him, so that one
Yeah.
caught me off guard. So yeah, that was probably the one though where that's someone I would never want to like cross the wrong way,
Okay.
especially because I've
Smart
heard some
move.
pretty crazy things with him. Yeah,
Because that recent video where he went after somebody and what was he saying? He's like, I will fuck all of you up. Like, he
Oh,
just
yeah,
kept
that
saying
video.
over and over. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he would.
He would fuck you up. That man can fight.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
so-
man.
Yeah.
Damn.
But that one, yeah. Not only would I not want to like pick anything with him, like that was probably one of the most least expected too, because
Yeah.
I've never made a bad video about Mike in any type of way or anything.
He was
so-
just pissed at you because of what you do, kind of thing.
Yeah, because he was dating Narman. I guess like he was hot tempered over like the breakup, and I totally get it because
that's
like he's
right.
trying to like defend her, and you
Yeah.
know, for sure. So, and it was admirable. We saw eye to eye after talking on the phone and everything. So yeah,
That's
we
cool.
pretty much squashed the beef.
Yeah, and then like you'll go up to people's booths and stuff and like kind of like linger in the background and like they see you and they're like, oh shit, here he comes again.
Here
like-
we go again.
Like where do you get the balls to do that? Because like there's times where like there's somebody that like I'm friends with that I see at a booth where I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to like bother them right now.
You get those weird butterflies in
Exactly.
your stomach, too.
Yes. And that's from
Right.
somebody that like I'm excited to see that would be happy to see me back. But like at the same time, you're like, I mean, yeah, like have you just always just like not really give any fucks about things like that, or did you develop
I
this
think it's
over
just-
time?
Yeah, I think it's just not give a fuck attitude. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a good question. I've just never really like had like the butterflies like that.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, because like watching it,
I
I'm
I think
just
it's
like,
partially because he is like an fairly
Well, what's-
imposing
he's a
individual.
big guy,
He's
yeah.
6'4", 255. Like, I'll be the guy to call you out. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah.
But well, what's funny too is I used to actually wait in the lines back in 2017 to call these people out, like Brad Castleberry or whoever it may be, but now I've gotten to the point where it's like I'll go talk to someone, but it's also bad because a lot of people know who I am now, so they kind of know what's coming. Whereas before I had the surprise factor and they
sneak
thought
up.
I was just like someone random. So they kind of know what's coming if they see me at their booth now, which is becoming a problem. So I'm gonna have to start investing in like disguises or something and like go to the expos. But yeah, normally I just approach and then ask like the question or you know whatever's being presented and or whatever the problem is, and just kind of like film from there. Do it really raw.
Doing it raw.
Yeah, going raw.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, things get pretty intense sometimes. I saw there was one thing where you were talking to a guy and he was just like defending whoever's booth he was at, and he was like, the guy doesn't want to talk to you, and you kept kind of referencing that the guy was wearing a bra because he was wearing like a deep wearing like wearing like a deep V-neck.
The
What were you
deep
trying to
V.
do there in that video?
So it was a natty or not on Jeff's side. I mean, you probably know him or well, and a lot of people do in the industry. But he's been kind of like, I guess, the younger version, Mike O'Hearn, where a lot of people are questioning whether he's been natural or not since he's been a teenager. So that was the first time I've ever seen him at an expo or heard of him being at an expo. And I kind of saw the opportunity like, oh, cool. Like I can film with him in person, talk about him being a natural athlete. And as soon as I came up and asked like the natty or not question, that was when his friend in the bra stepped in. And then
Hey, yeah, you looking for that
I've
video?
had so
Like
many.
that dude looked pretty funny.
Was
that
it?
shirt is ridiculous. Though.
It
Oh
was
my
your
gosh.
was it your Olympia video? Or,
yeah, the
okay.
Olympia. I think it was called like I didn't expect this or something.
Okay.
The one with David Lade on the thumbnail.
So Jeff isn't that big, but what are the reasons for him? Is it the way he markets? Or like what is it?
To be the unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
So the funny part is I think he's natural now because he has lost a lot of size and he's not nearly as conditioned as he used to be.
Okay.
So, and he still looks great, like compared to say like the average individual or average gym goer for sure. You can kind of see him like in the background behind the bra guy, like talking to people. But he compared to when he got his pro card in Men's Physique and got like the IFBB, he just looked entirely different. So I don't think he was natural at that time, but I think he is now. And that was going to be my question to him. And that was when this guy stepped in and went full on defensive.
I get small
This guy-
shirts.
Defensive mode.
But
I
this
love
guy
how he
right
does the
here-
arm
Yeah,
cross
the
too
kid.
to try and make his arms look bigger the entire clip.
This kid is so stoked that he's seeing
He's waiting
you
for
live
shit.
right now. Yeah.
He's waiting for shit to pop
Dude, I
off.
He's
I
just
didn't
like
notice that until editing. I was editing the footage and I was like, damn, I had no idea that kid was there the whole time.
he was so pumped.
He's just
to
like
see you.
smirking the whole time in the background.
That's awesome.
Oh my
I
god.
couldn't stop looking at the kid, but then
Who's
look at that thing.
who's taking this the
And then you
best?
see massive Brian Shaw in the background.
Yeah. Who's taking this the best out of everybody that you've kind of called out, or like has there been someone who just has had fun with it? They're like, fuck it, man, like or has everyone kind of taken exception to it?
I mean, everyone's been pretty good about it, to be honest. Who do you think? Oh yeah, I guess like Kristen Nunn. Do you know her, the female?
I'm not sure, but
She's
what
a
happened with
super
that?
jacked female. But I made a video on her because she posted some blood work, I believe, on her Instagram or something. And I, at the time, interpreted it as her claiming natural. But I guess she had posted the blood work showing that she wasn't transgender or something like that, because that's what people were claiming.
Damn.
So there was this big misconception. But
People were saying that
crazy-
she used to be a guy or something.
I guess
That's what they're trying to
apparently
say?
is a thing.
Wow.
But she has a like remarkable physique. I think even crazier in person, to be honest, which isn't really that normal, because a lot of the time when you see these individuals, more times than not, they're going to obviously look better on Instagram. But you see her in person and she looks like way crazier. Like,
She's got
for
those wrist
instance,
wraps on. Look
she
at those
was
wrist
at
wraps.
Yeah.
she was at Olympia this year, and her vascularity and just like the striations and the dryness was like crazy.
Whoa.
But yeah, super
Okay,
crazy physique for
I
a
have
female.
seen this girl. Okay.
Yeah, she's yoked.
She's
Yeah.
jacked.
But for sure, you can understand why she gets the natty or not question.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Kenny.
But she took it incredibly well. Super humble, super funny,
yeah.
super great girl.
What's the intent with your content continuously moving forward? Like, what are you trying to get? Like a 16 or 17-year-old kid is watching your content. What do you want them to get from it?
I mean, just to have an open mind about everything. Not necessarily to be like, okay, everyone's on anabolics or steroids, so I need to do that. That's definitely not the message. So if you're listening to this now, that's definitely not the message behind my channel. But just have an open mind to everything. If someone tells you something, don't just believe it because they're your idol. Kind of look at it objectively. Do the research behind everything. Know exactly, nutrition, diet, supplementation. When someone's trying to push a product, rather something that's actually beneficial.
Yeah.
So like I said, just the biggest message would just have an open mind, be honest, be transparent, and try and do the same and replicate the same in response.
Do you see yourself doing this in 5 years, or you think you'll morph into doing something slightly different?
So what I'm wanting to do, and still kind of striving to do with my YouTube, is use it more as like a marketing platform. So I'll kind of continue to be, I guess, like the Keemstar of the fitness industry. Maybe drift into other parts of YouTube as well, incorporate other parts into fitness as well, just to make it more entertaining and build a bigger audience. And then once we figure out where we're going to be living and be situated, I want to definitely like open a gym.
Oh,
and
cool.
Kind of like become more like stationary in one spot.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I saw a video where, so you're a guy that calls people out and you're a guy that kind of ends up clowning on people, right? And then you had another guy that does the same thing. He did the same thing to you.
Mm-hmm.
How did
back
that,
and forth?
yeah, how did that feel? You know, you had, I think it's Fillion is this guy's name, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I think, you know, he made a video about you. Like, how does
I
that,
made one on you too, huh?
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. How does that, you know, like when somebody, you know, when somebody responds back to you, are you, like, do you enjoy that? Or you're like, hey, here we go. Like, this is what I wanted. Like, gloves are off and now we get to get after it.
I think that's how I used to be. Like, ask me like a year ago, I probably would have been, yeah, like gloves off. Like, oh, this is awesome. Let's like keep going back and forth. Now I've gotten to the point where it's like, I just kind of let them say what they want. And then like that's it, you know? And I don't hate anyone for making videos on me. I think anyone can say anything about me because that's what I do. So it's only fair that I receive the same type of treatment. So, you know, if people make videos on me, that's totally fine. But if I'm to like respond or not, I guess it really just depends on like the situation and what they say. So definitely out of reflex, I would have made a response video to every single video someone made on me. But now I'm like more selective and, you know, I'll watch videos and I actually more times than not get entertainment out of actually just watching like what people say or how they interpret things in like your videos.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've ever like in your spare time, you should just go on like YouTube, type in Mark Bell and go to like most recent uploads and you'll like see videos of like people with like 5 subscribers like talking about you, like whether they like you or not.
Right.
And it's kind of hilarious, especially the ones that don't like you, just to like hear the reasons of why they don't like you. It's pretty comical and fun to watch.
I just wish that guy did a better job making fun of me.
Right.
Like, I thought he did okay, but I think I'm pretty foolish, especially like on social media. And I think I put myself out there and do some weird shit. I thought he could have crushed me a lot better than that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's because I grew up with 2 older brothers. I don't know. But by the way, Fillion, if you're listening, I had sex with my wife this morning. He said he finds that to be cringy that I talk about that all the time. But I like to celebrate it because us married guys, we got to celebrate these things.
That's true. That's true. Oh shit!
Way
That's
to
a
go,
good one.
Mark.
Yeah. Hey, why not celebrate it, right? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I know what life's like with kids.
Yeah.
I think that's the best response too, rather than like I've seen a lot of people get frustrated at like call out videos.
I thought he was
or
pretty
comical
funny.
ones.
I thought he was pretty funny, but I
think
thought
if
he
you
could have
see
done
the
a better
humor
job.
in it and you can like
Yeah.
laugh at yourself through like other people's content, it just makes it way more enjoyable.
Yeah, I find like it's crazy like how not triggered, but like how bad it affects people. Like just
Right.
with the Sarmageddon thing, I found out that people had made videos about me in the series just based off of like, oh, what happens when I search SARMs? And like it was a bunch of, at the time, Sarmageddon was like top of the list, and then eventually it was like somebody used my entire name and the series in their title and then my picture in the thumbnail. It's like, huh, that's interesting. Like, oh, this guy's made 4 videos about, like, wow, okay. And then I stumbled upon other people's videos and like people like really, really upset. And I took it as flattery, and my way of thanking them is I put a little bit of clips of a couple of different ones in the last episode, just being like, thanks guys. But like I wasn't like upset or anything. I just thought it was interesting because reading the comments, it was like, if Mark Bell keeps putting this what they always got called the soy boy for some reason. Like if Mark Bell keeps putting this soy boy up on a pedestal, I am never buying another Mark Bell slingshot product ever again. It's like, well, you guys know that he was the first one to do this, right? There's a small movie called Bigger, Stronger, Faster where everyone's open about PED use, and if you've been okay with him for years because of that, like, you know, what changed now? So it is interesting to me, like doing anything can upset so many people for any number of reasons. I just always found that really interesting.
Hey man, I think it took me a while, and like it took me a while to like not let that shit get under my skin.
There's Reddit threads about you.
I know.
I didn't know that till like yesterday.
Yeah, dude, it used to like really, cause like I'd be like, fuck, I just train. I don't shill shit. I don't sell anything. I'm just putting out content. And that used to really just be like, fuck. It used to like mentally, I was like, fuck, this is fucking annoying, you know? But I think it takes a while for you to just stop caring, because
Get that thick skin.
yeah, you have to. I think, I mean, it's good.
Well,
that
everybody wants to be single-digit body fat and strong and big.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna throw shit at you. I mean, right?
And
Yeah.
Nigerian too. That
Yeah,
helps.
I'm trying to be Nigerian.
Yeah.
It fucking ain't working.
We've talked about it. You know what you gotta do.
I know the path.
You know
I
what
know
you
the
gotta
direct
do.
path.
It's a lot
I think
of
that's the thing
drinking.
too. No matter what content you put out, you're always gonna have someone that dislikes it. I had a talk with someone the other day about even if my channel was like only giving to charity or doing something, you're always gonna have those keyboard warriors in the comments or something. Like,
Why are you giving that charity?
Yeah.
Why? What are you doing with that?
Like you could be doing.
Why only childhood cancer? Why not all forms of cancer?
Right.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
what do you-
why only breast cancer? What about prostate cancer?
Why are you
What the
sexist?
fuck?
Right.
Gosh.
You're
It's
like,
like no matter
I
what
don't
you
know,
do,
man.
you
Sorry.
you can't win. You're always gonna have the haters, regardless what you do. So, the keyboard warriors.
They're always going to prevail.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? They want to find out more about Kenny KO.
I mean, obviously YouTube Kenny KO or Instagram Real Kenny KO. So
And
those
then
are my
what's
two
your
main platforms.
what's your home address? Just kidding.
Yeah. If you want my home address to catch these hands,
Hell yeah.
make more
Cool, man.
threats like I've gotten before, you can catch me at Reno, Nevada. Yeah.
Great to have you on the show.
No,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you, Mark. Of course, man. Thank you.
Strength
bro.
is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch y'all later.